catch up with the man and his mission.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman. I've got a very strange story to tell you. It all started a few months ago. I went out for a drink with my flatmate Danny. That's him there. Not sure why I'm showing you that, because that's him there. He's in tonight. Hello, Dan. You all right? Say hello.
Hello.
There you go. Myself and Danny were out drinking because it was his birthday. He'd had a lovely video camera as a present, so myself and him and that camera and a few mates went out on the lash. And we were getting really drunk. We'd reached that pit of despair, otherwise known as tequila. I've never been quite this drunk. So I started telling Danny stories, because that's what I like to do when I'm drunk. Danny didn't believe me, because that's what he likes to do when he's drunk. But they were true stories. I swear on my life, it's absolutely true. I'd been told that the assistant manager of East Fife Football Club was also called Dave Gorman, which I didn't know about, and I've been to Scotland several times since, and I've now discovered that no one knows. However, I told Danny that fact, and he didn't believe me. And I said, it's true. And he said, it's nonsense. You're going on with yourself. I said, it's true. And I told him more stories. Once upon a time in a pub in Manchester, taxi driver comes in, shouts taxi for Dave Gorman. Me and another bloke both stand up. We stare each other out for about 20 seconds. I make him show me some ID, so I check he isn't just a blagger stealing my taxi. He was a Dave Gorman, but then he had to go, because apparently that was his taxi. And I was telling Danny this, he says, no, nonsense, you're making it up, bollocks, you're carrying on with yourself, all nonsense. So it's not that far-fetched. There must be hundreds of other people in the world also called Dave Gorman. He's going, nonsense. I said, right, we'll prove it. And so that night, we stayed out all night drinking. And at 6:30 in the morning, we found ourselves at King's Cross train station, where I bought for myself and for Danny tickets from London to Glenrothes in East Fife. Now, I'm aware that not everyone who's going to watch this is going to know where that is. So here's a map of the journey we made. We started down here in London, obviously. This is not a 20-minute journey, this is a long journey. This is 4 hours in a train, all the way up here into Edinburgh. We changed trains in Edinburgh, and then we went into Glenrothes. In Glenrothes, we got in a taxi. I said, East Fife Football Club, please. He said, certainly, sir. 20 minutes later, he had to stop twice to ask for directions. You've got to panic about a football club when that's happening. We get to the game, the only two Englishmen ever, surely, to travel from London at 7 in the morning in order to watch East Fife play football. That's never happened before, that's never happening again. Brilliant. We're freezing cold, we're hungover, we're wearing yesterday's clothes, we stink, and we're watching East Fife play Brechin City to a dismal 1-1 draw. At the end of which, we go and knock on the club door, and I say, hello, I'd like to meet the assistant manager, Dave Gorman, please. And this big Scottish guy goes, F*** off. I go, no, I would, really, I'd like to meet him. He goes, what's your name? I go, Dave Gorman. He goes, right, F*** off. I go, no, look, I've got my ID and everything. Look, that's me, look, that's my face, that's my name, I'm Dave Gorman. He goes, all right, come in, I'll see if he's around. Dave Gorman had already overheard the kerfuffle. He came out to meet us. Absolutely lovely man. He's East Fife through and through. He used to be the goalkeeper. He's now the assistant manager. It was an absolute pleasure to meet him. Most importantly, I got to shake his hand. Here he is, the assistant manager of East Fife, Mr. Dave Gorman. That's what he looks like, but this is what he sounds like.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
There you go. And it was such a nice thing to meet him. It was so good. It was so nice, but I didn't really know what to say. Because I don't really know much about football, and I'm not, you know, drunk and hungover, and I don't know what's going on. So the only thing I could think to say was, have you ever met anyone else called Dave Gorman? All right, this is what happened. This is we've got it on tape. Have you ever met anyone else called Dave Gorman before?
No.
You haven't?
No.
Right, now you heard that, didn't you? The straight question. Have you ever met anyone else called Dave Gorman? No. So there's no other Dave Gormans in your family or anything?
My father was named David Gorman.
Have you ever met any? No. Any of your family? My father. He forgot his own father. Can you imagine that? It gets worse.
My father was named David Gorman, and my grandfather was named David Gorman. And as far as I know, that's it.
Do you know any? No. Are you related to any? My father and my grandfather. There's two Dave Gormans. There's two generations of his own family that he's forgotten. How on earth do you forget that? The fact that you're Dave Gorman III ought to be a bit of a clue. frankly, but you heard him say my father, my grandfather, but apart from that, that's it.
My son is named David Gorman.
He is.
It's sort of a family tradition.
It's a sort of a family tradition? It's the only name that family bloody knows. I'm not expecting to tell me he's married to Dave Gorman next. He's Dave Gorman Central, that man. It's incredible, but the most important thing to take away from that, don't be angry, be happy, because he's just told me his son is called Dave Gorman. So I asked him, can we meet your son? He said, well, you can't meet him right now, he's a policeman, he's on duty, but I can give you his phone number if you like. I said, absolutely. We took his phone number, we got a train back into Edinburgh, we rang young Dave Gorman from the hotel, lovely bloke. I rang him up going, hello, it's a bit odd this, my name's Dave Gorman, I'd like to come and meet you later, if that's okay. We met your father earlier on. He went, yeah, I know. I was going, well, can we? Eventually, he said, all right. And we went out the next afternoon to meet him. We got to meet another one. Here's me, shaking his hand. The young man, policeman, Dave Gorman. Oh, look at that. Looking slightly more frightened than his father, in spite of his policeman status. That is what he looks like, but this is what he sounds like.
Hello, my name is David Gorman.
Bear in mind, you know the answer to this question. You know his family. All right? So, Dave, have you ever met any other Dave Gormans?
No, I've never heard any other Dave Gormans.
I said, what about your father? What about your grandfather? What about your great-grandfather? Come on, man! So, that was it, basically. It was a weekend, drunken weekend, 250 quid spent. I met two Dave Gormans, we came home, that should have been your lot. Except that I liked it. It had a certain little quirky pleasure meeting my namesake. I liked it. It's sort of nice. In a warm way. It was just nice to know they existed. So when I got home, I'm looking at the phone book on the side, and it's teasing me. I'm thinking, I've never looked, I'm not in it, but there might be another one. So when Danny went out, I got the phone book down, had a quick look through, I found one. He lives in London. In particular, he lives in southwest London. He lives in Tooting. It's not very far. We went out to meet him. And if you think that Dave Gorman number 2 looked more frightened than Dave Gorman number 1, take a look at this. Absolutely. Lovely fellow, though. That's what he looks like. This is what he sounds like.
Hello. My name is David Gorman.
Really, but a lovely, lovely man. And he showed us great hospitality. He made us coffee. He got us biscuits. He showed us all around his house. He's a bookseller for a living. He looks the part. I think you'd agree. He's got loads of books all over the house. He's a massive Beatles fan, although he never saw them live. Although Ringo did wink at him once in Oxford Street. Well, you don't believe me?
No, Ringo winked at me once in Oxford Street.
I think you should learn to trust me. And that really should have been it. We'd met 3 Dave Gormans, and I had spent 250 quid on a drunken weekend. That was your lot. Except, on the way up to Scotland, we changed trains in Edinburgh, and I bought a polaroid camera, because I thought it was a nice way of taking a permanent record of all the meetings. And so I'd taken these polaroids of all of them. There they are. And I'd got them all to sign them, and I thought it was a nice way of recording the differences between their faces and their names and the rest of it. And it was lovely. And I like those. I think they're very beautiful objects, these pictures. These are photographs of Dave Gormans taken by a Dave Gorman. I think that makes them a bit special. And I didn't know what to do with them. I thought, you can't take those home and just put them in a drawer, can you? You've got to do something proper and nice with them. You can't just leave them on the side. You can't put them in any other photo album with other people, with other names. That would be wrong. The only right and proper thing to do with those pictures is to buy a special photo album for them. So that's what I did. I went out and got a photo album straight away. This is it. Not sure why I'm showing you that there, because this is it here. And that, I think, is a very beautiful object. Now, that is a Dave Gorman-specific photo album. Now, there's 2 things you can do. You can't put other people's pictures in there, can you? That would sully it. That would make it dirty. That would be impure. That would be wrong. The only thing to do with that, you've got 2 choices. You can either leave it as it is, or you can try your hardest to fill it up with other pictures of other people also called Dave Gorman. And I think you know which side of the fence I fell. So I wasn't sure, though, how to go about finding more Dave Gormans. And then I remembered I'd discovered an interesting fact. When I'd gone through the phone book to find the guy in Tooting, I discovered an interesting fact about the phone book. There is one. I don't know if you know this. You get your phone book for free. You also get the phone book of a neighbouring area for free if you ask nicely. But you can buy other phone books, OK? If you don't believe me, this is the form in the back of the book, OK? And this is the section you want to be looking at, OK? Phone books can be ordered individually, as regional sets, or as a complete collection. Paperback phone books, £6.50 each. Hardback phone books, if available, £7.50 each. So, obviously, first thing I did, straight away, I went out and got myself some more phone books. Now, armed with those, I start going through and ringing up all the Dave Gormans I can. Except that the phone book, it doesn't give you the Christian name, it just gives you the first initial. So I have rung up every D. Gorman this country has to offer. I've been through every one of those phone books. I've rung every D. Gorman. I've spoken to every Dominic, every Darren, every Dorothy Gorman that this country has. At one point, I accidentally rang my own father. I got number blind and word blind and just got through to a D. Gorman. Hello, you're D. Gorman. I'm hoping you might be David. He went, no, I'm Derek. You sound familiar. But I'm going through all these, and it's getting quite complicated. There's no... I couldn't remember if I'd been through the book or not. It's a huge pile to have in your living room, so I decided to streamline the operation. I went through each and every one of those books and tore out every page that had a Gorman on it and created my own Gorman-specific phone book, which I thought would prove to be the Bible on which this journey was built. So, armed with that, and we got really slick at this stage, much slicker than really you'd ever imagine of me, we cross-referenced it with the electoral register. We got all the numbers and all, I was going to say all the names and addresses. We know the names. We got all the addresses of all the Dave Gormans we could in Britain, and we wrote about 100 letters, myself and Dan. We wrote 100 letters to people called Dave Gorman. Each letter exactly the same. Every letter said, Dear Dave, hello, my name's Dave Gorman as well. I'd like to meet you. It's that simple. We'll come to you, your home, your place of work, anything. All you need is 20 minutes. We'll come, shake your hand, take your photograph, leave. Please, 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 give me a ring on this number if you're interested. Imagine you've sent that letter out to 100 people. They're all called Dave Gorman. This is my answering machine. About a week after we sent out that letter, this is what my answering machine sounded like.
I got this letter from you and I thought it was a wind-up initially.
My name's Dave Gorman. I just received a letter from you. I just found out to see if it's a wind-up, mate. I've got your letter. It does sound a bit strange, doesn't it?
And I hope this isn't a wind-up.
Did wonder whether it was a wind-up.
Just wondering whether it was a wind-up.
Basically, it was a complete waste of stamps, wasn't it? Not one person believed me. I was furious. So I go back on the phones. I think I can be very persuasive when I want. If someone says to me, you're not Dave Gorman, it's a wind-up, I can tell them that I am Dave Gorman far quicker than I can send another letter. So that's what I try to do. We go on the phones again, and I try to make it really organised. I put all their names down in order. Not sure how you do that, right? But I put them all on a piece of paper anyway, right? And I got a pen and I sat down on a Monday morning. I treated it like a job. I'd go to work, I'd go through, crossing them off. It was a Monday morning. They're all at work. I'd ring 50 in a day. I'd be leaving 50 messages all over Britain with people called Dave Gorman. Every message the same. Hello, Dave Gorman. It's Dave Gorman here. You've probably had a letter from me. It is not a wind-up. I really do want to meet you. Please ring me back on this number and we'll arrange it. But please, bear in mind, I've left this message with 50 people. They're all called Dave Gorman. So when you ring me back, please give me a little bit of information about yourself. Tell me where you're calling from. Give me your number. Imagine you've done that on a Monday morning, then you go out for Monday afternoon, you come back and you find things like this on your answering machine.
Hi, it's David Gorman here, calling from home. If you want to get in touch with me again, I will be available on Monday at about 3:30.
What possible use is that to me? The only bit of information he's given me is his name, and that's the one thing I knew. I had to tell me where he was calling from. He told me he was calling from home. I got loads of... There's another one. Play the other one.
Hi, it's Dave Gorman. I'm just returning your call. See you later.
I was beginning to suspect that was in the Gorman genes. I was getting quite worried at it. Eventually, one Dave Gorman rang me. He spoke to me in person. He said, it's fine, I'd love to meet you, not a problem. I was delighted. The only problem with that is I wanted to do it properly. Now, when we went to meet the first three, Danny had his video camera with him, and I liked that. I liked having a permanent record of the event. It felt good. I liked watching them at home when I got there. It was lovely. It also made them take us a bit more seriously. It was like we were on a project. The only problem, they didn't take us too seriously because it isn't a very good camera. This is Dan's camera he got for his birthday. Now, that is a home-use model. It's quite nice, it's quite pricey, it does the job. But it's not spectacular, and you're not professionals, you're just two idiots with a camera. I wanted them to treat us like we were professionals and make them think it was a bit of a project. So I went out to Tottenham Court Road, I spent a few quid, I bought Danny some toys for his camera. This is what it looks like now. And I'll tell you what, they take us seriously now, they do. Oh, you would, wouldn't you? It's a beauty, isn't it? You put a furry mic on it, all of a sudden you're a professional. Honestly, that's how the world works. It's a fantastic thing. It's a beautiful camera. You've got it with you tonight, haven't you, Dan? Look at that. Take a look at that beauty. Look at that beauty. Oh, absolutely. So, armed with that, we go off to meet Dave Gorman number 4. And I swear, not a word of a lie, I swear on my life, it's absolutely true, the very next Dave Gorman who agreed to meet us, Dave Gorman number 4, lives in Glenrothes. In particular, he lives 1.5 miles from the front door of the first Dave Gorman we met. So we get back on the same train for another 4-hour journey, all the way back, another 170 quid on a train fare to meet him. I was furious. We were prepared this time. 4-hour journey. We knew it was coming this time. We'd done it a week before, so this time we bought a deck of cards. We're whiling away the hours, and then a sudden, horrible thought entered my head. I suddenly realised I was sober. The first ones had been done in drunkenness. And now I was sober. I'd crossed a line. I was doing this on purpose. That's quite frightening. I needed to know how was it going to end? What was I doing it for? And I was doing it to prove Danny Wallace wrong, because he said there weren't that many in the world. So I wanted to know how many he thought was loads. So I asked him. And he put the deck of cards in my palm and went, that many. And I cut the deck, and it was a 7. And I thought, piece of piss. And he went, no, no, no. That many. And I went, 52. And he went, and the jokers. So now, we're on our way to find Dave Gorman number 4, and I'm trying to think of a way to find another 50. But most importantly, we've got to find number 4 first, so that's what we did. We got a train up into Edinburgh. This time, we didn't do all the way into Glenrothes, we got a train into Kirkcaldy and we changed there because although he lives in Glenrothes, he works in Ladybank on a golf course. He's the greenkeeper. Here he is, Dave Gorman. What a lovely lad. He's got mischief in his eyes, hasn't he? He's got a little cheeky grin. Oh, he's a fantastic little fella. You can hear it in his voice as well. That's what he looks like. This is what he sounds like.
Hello, my name's David Gorman.
Oh, isn't he great, isn't he? Oh. You want to cuddle him, don't you? Arr, he's a lovely young lad. Really is. And obviously, what I say to all of them, I said it to him as well, I asked him if he had heard of any other Dave Gormans.
I've heard of Dave Gorman, the East Fife keeper, the former goalkeeper.
Oh, for a minute there I thought we were onto one, and then it turns out to be the first one we met. He's the former keeper, he's now the assistant manager. And that makes sense to me. He's a young lad, he lives in East Fife, presumably he follows the football. But apparently that is not the reason he knows him.
I've heard of him, but that's because my dad, he's helped my dad out. My dad done a wee bit of football coaching.
It turns out his dad is a man called Jackie Gorman. Jackie Gorman works with Dave Gorman at East Fife Football Club. And I think we can all remember when I asked Dave Gorman at East Fife Football Club if he knew any other Dave Gormans, the answer was no. Now, if I worked anywhere, which I don't, but if I did, and a Jackie Gorman came to work with me, I think at some point during the first 10 years, it would occur to me to have a conversation with him about the fact that we shared a surname. I probably would have found out that his son shares my whole name. I would have remembered that fact. Then when I came up to ask me that fact, I would have told me that fact, and it wouldn't have cost me another 170 quid getting on another train, making the same journey to be 5 miles from where I'd been stood 1 week before. Not a very happy man about that. Not his fault. He's lovely. It's the other one. He's absolutely lovely. He's charming. He's a lovely... He's a little boy racer with his car, and he so likes driving, he volunteered to give us a lift. We didn't have to get the train back into Kirkcaldy. He gave us a lift, and to tell you what, he was faster than the train.
What a nice bloke. He drives very fast.
And then we got to Edinburgh, and we managed to find yet another one. He works at the Royal Bank of Scotland. He lives in Edinburgh. He's a fantastic fella. Here he is, Dave Gorman. Oh, look at that. Isn't he fantastic? That's what he looks like. This is what he sounds like.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
There you go. And he is one of my favourite of all the Dave Gormans. He really is. This man here, he's one of my favourites, not least because in that picture it looks like I'm wearing a glove puppet. Isn't that absolutely lovely? He's a lovely man, and I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, it gets better than that, because he's here tonight! We're in the presence of yet another Dave Gorman. Dave Gorman, wherever you are, make yourself known. Where are you? He's on the second row. Fantastic. Come here, Dave. Shake my hand. Look at that camera and say it for them one more time. Go on.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman.
Oh! That's the result. That's what we want. All the way from Edinburgh to be here. I love him for that. I really do. Are you free for the next 5 weeks, Dave? You are?
Yeah, why not?
You're going to come down? We'll bring you down for the next 5 weeks. Yeah? Fantastic. We've got some odd jobs need doing. Fantastic. No, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put your name on the credits as an assistant. Just to confuse the hell out of the BBC. At this point, it's worth considering exactly what we've done. And what we've done so far is we've met 5 Dave Gormans. But to meet them, we've had to travel 1,890 miles. And I think you'll appreciate that gives us quite a satisfying statistic of 378 miles per Dave Gorman. And I think that's quite nice. I think that's lovely. I think it's got a certain natural beauty to it. I think anywhere below 300, that means your name's a bit too common. You don't want to bump into a namesake on every street corner, do you? You want to be confident you're opening your own post. Over 500, that's too far. That's crazy. Who'd do that? Nonsense, clearly. So we're sitting in the zone. We're between 300 and 500. I think that's lovely. However, there is always something to throw you off course. And when we met this fella...
Hello.
Now, he sells books for a living, you know that much. Obviously, one of the things I asked him was, have you ever sold a book written by a Dave Gorman? And he got quite excited for a little minute, he really did.
You've just reminded me. Oh, no. It's Ed Gorman.
Oh! So close! I told him, I said, concentrate, come on! About a week after I met him, I can't guarantee this was actually sent by him, because there was no letter attached, just a little parcel arrived at my house. It contained this book. This book, those you can see it there, is written by a David Gorman. It's a proper book with words in and everything. It's really good. I recommend it. It's got quite a spooky title, given the nature of my journey. It's called Looking at Ourselves. Now, that book has got some interesting information in it. For a start, there's a little message from him to you, the reader, right at the front of the book. This is what it says. You'll recognise me in the south of France as the one with the Canadian accent and a computer under his arm. David Gorman wrote that in 1997. And I think that's fascinating. He lives in the south of France. He's Canadian, or at least he does the accent. That's absolutely no reason not to meet him, is it? So straight away we went out, we booked a flight, we jumped on a plane, we went to France. If you don't believe me, that's my boarding card. And we arrived in Marseille on a very nice sunny afternoon. All we had was the name of the village he lives in, a little village called St Alexandre. This is the journey we made. All the way into Marseille we landed. We didn't know where St Alexandre was. All we knew was it was a tiny village. He was a Canadian and he lived there. I thought, we'll find him, easy. So we get to Marseille, we hire a car, we buy a road atlas, we jump in the car, we drive 150 kilometres into the south of France. Absolutely beautiful village, absolutely stunning. You could throw a stone over the whole thing, it's that small. We're walking around the village. I don't speak French. I'm armed with this book. I'm just walking up to people going, Où est David Gorman? Où est l'homme ici? Où est Monsieur Gorman? Most people give me a bit of a wide berth, clearly. But we managed to corner a couple of mechanics, and they're both fantastic men.
David Gorman. David Gorman. Gorman.
Now, I don't speak French. I've no idea what he was saying there. But his friend came out to help, and I'll tell you what, this man is possibly the most French man you've ever seen in your life. Look at this. Now, that's elementary, isn't it? We all learned that at school. The longer the ash on the end of your gall, the more French you are. And I think a closer examination... Oh, he's French, all right. Now, the first one, the guy in the blue shirt, I don't speak French. He sort of went, oh, come with me. Also, I don't actually know what he said, but he didn't mind when I followed him. He took me around into the little village centre, the little sort of town hall in a village style. And in there, about 8 people. None of them speaking English, me not speaking French. They worked out exactly what I was after. They knew who I was talking about. They recognised his picture. And they got this map out. They photocopied it. This is the map they gave me. There you go. And they drew directions to his house. This is the village here. This is where we were. But he doesn't live in the village. He lives out in the sticks. So they drew all these arrows, taking us out on this route here, up round this little hairpin here, up these little lanes, all this way up here. X marks the spot. That's about where he lives there. We followed that journey. It took us about 50 minutes to walk there. Very exciting when we got there. His name was on the mailbox. I go up, I knock on the door. I ring his bell. And he's not in. So I think he can't be far. There's cars in the drive. Nowhere to go. We'll hang around for a bit. 20 minutes later, he's not come back. I'm getting a bit panicky. I'm in the south of France. I'm with my flatmate. What the hell am I doing? I'm getting a bit panicky. 20 minutes later, I'm getting very, very nervous indeed. I go and speak to his next-door neighbours. One of them doesn't know where he is, the other one doesn't know who he is. I'm getting even more worried now. After about an hour outside his house, I go back into the village again with this book, and a bit more urgent this time, going, ooh-ay! Ooh-ay! Ooh-ay, Dave Gorman! Well, I spoke to, I found someone who knew where he was. I discovered a very, very alarming fact. He's in London. He was in bastard Greenwich! He was 5 miles from my own front door when I'd been stood 1 yard from his. So we get back in the car, we drive all the way back down to Marseille, we jump in a plane, we fly all the way back into Gatwick, and from Gatwick we get a taxi to his mate's house in Greenwich. We finally got to meet him. It was a pleasure. I didn't think we were going to get this one. We did get him. Here he is. Lovely man, Dave Gorman. That's what he looks like. This is what he sounds like.
Hello. My name is David Gorman.
There you go. He's not as camp as he looks. Now, it was a pleasure to meet him. It really was. But I think you can appreciate it's been quite damaging statistically. We've gone all the way to France and all the way back again to meet a man that could have been a 10-mile round trip. That's very, very damaging. What we've done on that particular journey, we've met one Dave Gorman. And we've travelled 1,474 miles to meet him. And I can see what you're thinking. It's written on all of your faces. I can see it in your eyes. Every single one of you now, you're looking at me thinking, yeah, it's all right, Dave. What's that done to the graph? Well, as you can see, we've taken a terribly steep turn there, haven't we? We've only met one extra Dave Gorman, yeah? But we've travelled all those extra miles, haven't we? Well, that's just crazy, isn't it? It's gone wrong at that point. Basically, that's what's happened. And now you're trying to do the maths in your head, I can see. Your eyes are flickering. Is that between 300 and 500 miles per Dave Gorman? Don't worry. You don't need to do any thinking. I'm here to do that for you. You rest your pretty little heads. That's the zone. Okay. That's what we're aiming at. That's a kind of golden cone there. Between the bottom line, that's a kind of... That represents 300 miles per Dave Gorman there. That top line there, that represents 500 miles per Dave Gorman. Anywhere within that kind of golden cone, we're on target, OK? That is a golden cone of Gormanness. That's what we're aiming at. Let's see, if I put that graph onto that zone, let's see how we figure. I know. I share your disappointment, I really do. Really, no, I know exactly how I felt the first time I saw it. I feel for you. That's where we are. We've travelled 3,364 miles. We've met 6 Dave Gormans. We are sitting at 561 miles per Dave Gorman. That's not so far out of the zone. That's not so bad. We shouldn't be downhearted. We can rein that in if we work harder. And I tell you what, I've been to France and back. I think you'll agree I am committed to this idea. And I'm delighted because we've added 6 Polaroids to that album. And that delights me. If you see one of these men on your travels, I ask only one thing of you. That you respect him. Don't make a nuisance of yourself. Don't be telling him that he's a Dave Gorman. He knows that already. But do, please, give him a big hello hug from me. Now, I know most of you are thinking, yeah, I'll do that. That's fine, that's a good idea. I also know that you are members of the public and therefore fickle. Which is why I'm asking each and every one of you to take an oath of allegiance, swearing that you will respect the Dave Gormans of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking you all, please, to raise your right hands. Follow the words on the screen and say it with me. I solemnly swear that I will do everything within my power to respect, honour and, if necessary, enable the Dave Gormans. I promise that whenever I meet a Dave Gorman, and I will say hello from you, the Dave Gorman I see before me now, and also from your fat mate Danny. I will do this wherever in the world I so happen to be, even in France. Not in the yet, so I wouldn't want to go if I were you. Or at least I'd check before buying tickets for an aeroplane. Or not if it's perfect, or he's the man that bears that name. Forever and ever, Dave Gorman. My name's Dave Gorman, the search continues. Thank you very much. Good night.
More Dave Gormans on BBC Two, same time next week.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman. For the last few months, myself, my flatmate Danny, his video camera and my credit card have been trying to find, meet, shake the hand of and photograph everyone we can called Dave Gorman. We've been trying to find 54 Dave Gormans because Danny has challenged me to find one for every card in the deck, including the Jokers. He's that kind of flatmate. Our first Dave Gorman lives in East Fife.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
He told us about his son, who's also called Dave Gorman.
Hello, my name is David Gorman.
From there, we went back down to London, managed to meet this man.
Hello.
Before heading back all the way back up to Glenrothes to meet this fella.
Hello, my name's David Gorman.
And then into Edinburgh to meet this one.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
We've even been to France. But he wasn't in. We finally met him in Greenwich.
Hello, my name is David Gorman.
And that's where we are. We've so far met 6 Dave Gormans.
Hello,
My name is David Gorman.
But we've travelled 3,364 miles to meet them, giving us a statistic of 561 miles per Dave Gorman. Which is annoying, because we're trying to stay somewhere between 300 and 500 miles per Dave Gorman. Let me make that a little bit easier for you. This is the graph. Now, that little golden cone there, that's the golden cone of Gormanus. That's our target area. That's what we're aiming to. Anywhere in there, as you can see, we've popped out the top there. That is our margin of error. Okay? That is 61 miles per Dave Gorman wrong. However, I was born in the Midlands, so I figured maybe that would be a hot spot for Dave Gormans. That's where we headed to next, OK? This is the journey into Wolverhampton, first of all, to meet our first one. We managed to find him. He works in a pub. He used to work for the RAF, but he's a lovely fella. Here he is, Dave Gorman. Oh, and if you don't believe this is the West Midlands, I think we'd do well to hear his voice.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman.
There you go, lovely fella, drives a Capri. No, he does, he takes it very seriously. He's got several of them, if you don't believe me.
So I drive around in Capris as well. I'm a Capri nut. Yeah, a Capri nut.
You've got like more than one Capri, yeah? Properly.
Yeah, that's great.
At which point I look a bit frightened. He's a nice fellow, though, and he's really into the whole Gorman family thing. He lives in Wolverhampton, but he's really connected to his Irish roots. It's an Irish name. This is his mobile phone, right? That, very hard to read, is the Gaelic motto of the Gorman family. He's had it programmed into his mobile phone. Every time he turns it on, he can read in Gaelic the phrase, first and last in battle. That's how into the Gorman thing he is. And you know what? I don't care. I couldn't care less. Because this isn't about Gormans. This is about Dave Gormans. This isn't about the Gorman family. This is about the Dave Gorman brotherhood. I'm not interested in any of that at all. So we travelled from Wolverhampton down into Bromsgrove. We managed to meet this fella.
Hello. My name's Dave Gorman.
From Bromsgrove, we then headed into Royal Leamington Spa, where Dave Gorman refused to meet me. I know. It's shocking, isn't it? We tried everything, but we got into Royal Leamington Spa, we found his number, we gave him a ring, we parked the car at this is it, this is what happened.
Hello, can I speak to David Gorman, please? My name is David Gorman. All I wanted to know is if it was possible for me and a friend and a video camera. No, like 10 minutes. Literally, come along, no, honestly, 10 minutes.
And you see, I'm being perfectly polite there, aren't I? I'm just on the phone going, look, we've just come round, it won't take long, we'll just meet you. He's going, no, 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 not playing, not having any of it. We've written him a letter the day after, he will not meet us, he refuses. And I hate him for it. And the worst thing about it is I think Danny was enjoying it.
I spoke to him, though.
Yeah, you spoke to him.
Had a conversation.
You had a conversation with
a Dave Gorman.
You didn't meet...
It's another one.
You didn't know. You didn't meet him, though, did you?
No, but you heard me talking to him for a while there.
I heard you talking to someone, but we haven't met another Dave Gorman. That doesn't count. That's cheating. That doesn't count.
And the worst thing about that is I think Danny's got a point. I think he's right. It isn't enough to know that they exist. I want to shake their hands. That's what we're doing. So he doesn't count. And you know what? I'm annoyed because I want to show you his face. I want you to know what he looks like and know what he sounds like. And I can't show you that. I've got no choice but to guess. I've never met him, but I think he might look something like this. It's just a guess. Obviously, I might be wrong. He might look something like that. It's just a guess. I might be wrong. He might look something like that. But I don't care. Because we've gone to Wolverhampton and back and we've met 2 Dave Gormans, so we don't need Royal Leamington Spa. We saved a lot of miles there. We could have done that in 2 journeys, but we've learned we've saved a lot of miles, gone to Wolverhampton and then to Bromsgrove and then home. That's fantastic. 3 cheers for Wolverhampton, say I. 3 cheers for Bromsgrove, say I. Sod Royal Leamington Spa, we don't need him. Because this is what it's done to the graph. Oh! We're back in the zone! That's what we want. That's where we belong there in the golden cone. That's exactly what we're after. We've now met 8 Dave Gormans. We've travelled 3,645 miles. That gives us 456 miles per Dave Gorman. Oh, that's a thing to be happy about. We're on target. That's not a problem. However, there is always something to throw you off course. And when we met this fella...
Hello.
You know the one who wrote the book that we think was sent to us by this one?
Hello.
Well, this one...
Hello.
Lovely fella, you know, we had a nice time when we met him, shared a glass of wine, all that. And I had his book with me as well, and he's written a book. It's rude, isn't it, if you meet the author, not to ask him. So I did, I got him to sign it. He did sign it, here it is now. Now that is a quality inscription on a book as far as I'm concerned. You don't see that very often. To David Gorman from David Gorman, that's the result. If you saw that in a second-hand bookshop, you'd think the world's loneliest man was giving himself a birthday present, wouldn't you? It's a fantastic thing. I'm very proud to have that. Oddly, he's managed to write my name differently to his. I can't do that. However, one of the conversations I have with all of them is to ask them how they would go about finding more Dave Gormans and so on. And I asked him, and he was full of suggestions. He said, well, have you tried phone books? I said, yes. He said, have you tried the electoral register? I said, yes. And then he came up with a great idea.
Other thing you can do, I mean, this is just one thing, is all the main domains like that, you can send an email out to davidgorman@aol.com or Dave Gorman or D Gorman or tell them what you're doing. And
I think that's that could be a very fruitful route for us.
That was his idea. I'll just explain that to anyone who doesn't understand him. What he's suggesting is you find internet service providers or big domain names and you write to Dave Gorman at that address and you send them an email and they might or might not exist. And that's what we decided to do. Myself and Danny sent about 3,000 emails out. It took us 2 days to do it. We found every internet service provider in the world that we could, and we tried every permutation of a Dave Gorman-style email address. We'd do Dave Gorman, Dave.Gorman, Dave_Gorman, Gorman Dave, David Gorman, David.Gorman, David_Gorman, Gorman David, Davy Gorman, Davy.Gorman, etc., at everything we could find in the whole wide world. We sent out 3,000 emails. And then we sat and watched the computer almost explode. Things coming back all the time saying, message undelivered, address does not exist, message undelivered, address does not exist, message undelivered, address does not exist, message undelivered, address does not exist. 2 of them exist. One of them wrote back to me, basically saying, what the hell are you doing? I wrote back to him saying, I'm trying to meet Dave Gormans. He said, I'd love to meet you, but I can't. I'm really busy. I've got a family. I'm flying out the country. I work long hours. Every excuse under the sun. I wrote back to him saying, you only need 20 minutes. I will come to you wherever you are. Don't worry about it. Please say you will meet me. Eventually, he gave in. Eventually, he yielded to my charms. He sent me a very charming email. This is it. David, my flight is now scheduled for Tuesday morning, so I will have a couple of hours, 1200 to 1400, no, the military styling there, on Monday, 22nd of May. We could get together if you can work it out. I'm staying in a hotel on a US military installation in Vicenza, Italy. My phone number is blah, blah, blah. Feel free to call and we'll work out the details. Thanks, David. Now, I opened that email on midnight Saturday. He can meet me noon Monday. Suffice to say, Sunday morning was a bit of a panic. I woke up in the certain knowledge that I was going to make that appointment. I had to fly out to Italy that day. So I run around, I ring travel agents, I managed to book 2 tickets from London to Venice. I run into Danny's room to wake him up. He's not there. That means he's at his girlfriend's house. He doesn't give me her number. So I'm running around town now trying to find a friend of Hannah's. I find one, I bully her, get nothing. I bribe her, I get a result. I ring Hannah's house, I cause one almighty row. Imagine the scene. He's promised her the weekend, just the two of them, no more of this Dave Gorman nonsense. All of a sudden, I'm taking him to Venice. One of the most romantic cities in the world. She was furious. He wasn't happy either, but he's got no moral stance. He can't argue. I've already bought the tickets. He's got to come. So me and Danny, we flew out to Venice. If you don't believe me, here's my boarding card. There you go. Economy. It's not a happy life. We arrived in Venice. Here it is on the northeastern part of Italy. And I can tell you for a fact, it is absolutely impossible for two men to take a 2-day trip to Venice and not appear to be taking a romantic weekend away. Can't be done. Everywhere I went, a little nudge, a little wink. On the plane, I had a pudding. You want 2 spoons with that? Shocking, really was. Anyway, we've landed in Venice. If you don't believe me, here's more proof of me in Venice. Yeah, I can't talk now, I'm on a gondola. Lovely place, but we couldn't hang around. We couldn't hang around because we had to travel from Venice into Vicenza. It's only about 50 miles, didn't take us very long on a train to get into there. We found a little hotel, £25 a night. They offered us 1 room, we took 2. And from there, I rang the military installation on which Dave Gorman was staying.
You are connected with the U.S. Army Vicenza switchboard.
He wasn't in. But his wife was. So I spoke to her instead. I was getting worried. After that trip to France, I was half expecting to find he'd been transferred to some military exchange system. He was now guarding Buckingham Palace. However, he was fine. They were going to be at this restaurant the next day at 12. She said, it's absolutely fine. He's looking forward to meeting you. We're going to be with the family. You'll recognise us. We're the only ones there not in uniform. We'll have a bunch of kids with us. We're looking forward to it. I thought we were going to go all the way to Italy and not get him. We did get him. He's a lovely man. He's a gentleman soldier from Alabama, one of the most charming men I've ever met in my life. Lovely fella. Here he is, Dave Gorman. Oh, look at him. He's lovely. Lovely, 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 lovely man. He really is. Really polite. You know, the southern states, they just kind of, everything, sir. It's beautiful. Lovely bloke. That's what he looks like. This is what he sounds like.
Hello. My name is Dave Gorman.
And he was with the family exactly as she'd predicted. Everyone smile. There they are. Lovely, lovely family. But this is heartbreaking. It's absolutely devastating. You see this little baby here in his mother's arms. 18 months of age. That little boy there, his name is Justin David Gorman. Oh! Oh! Can you imagine the fury in me there? In Italy, so near and yet so far, Justin David Gorman. Oh! To be honest, I think he was just as unhappy as I was. Really. Absolutely shocking. Couldn't they look at that family there, happy, smiling, unaware of the dark secret of a child they're tormenting me with. Little devil boy there. It's frightening, isn't it? However, there is some good news. Because this lad here, that's his eldest son, and his name is David Gorman. Yeah! Oh! That's what you want. All the way to Italy, we got 2 for 1 out of it. What great value Italy holds. I was delighted. What a pleasure. So we got to meet him as well, and there he is. Oh, what a lovely, lovely fella. Absolutely fantastic. What a great family. To be honest, I put that Justin David nonsense behind me. Oh, really? He's more than pulling his weight. We got 2 for 1 in Italy. What a fantastic result. Not just for gentleman soldier.
Hello.
But also a 10-year-old boy.
Hello, my name is David Gorman.
We got ourselves a father and son package.
1, 2. Hello.
Our name is
David Gorman.
There they are in perfect harmony. Most importantly, we added 2 new Polaroids to the album. OK, and incidentally, people do quibble when they see that photo. I'm going to just show you this properly. We have checked. He is a David Gorman and not a Dave Gorman. OK, we've taken that seriously. So we left. Very, very excited. We'd gone to Italy expecting 1 Dave Gorman. We'd found 2. We left, but not before Dave Gorman Sr. took a nice little souvenir photo of us.
All right.
That's great.
Thanks again.
No, thank you. I really, really do appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
You haven't got much time, and
it's great.
That was a pleasure.
Y'all take care, guys.
Yeah. Do you know what makes me happy? I've met him, and I now know he started his collection. Makes me feel good. Now, I went to Italy expecting to find only one Dave Gorman. We found two. That got me so excited. We left there. 20 minutes later, we were on a train on the way back to Venice. From Venice, we took a speedboat to the airport. I was so excited. I wanted to get home and draw that graph. I got my felt tips out on the plane. This is what happened to our graph on that trip. Oh! So close! So it just popped out at the top. Isn't it infuriating? But think how much worse it would have been if it wasn't for this fella.
Hello, my name is David Gorman.
Oh, it'd be so much worse, wouldn't it? Without him, we'd be over here somewhere. That'd be crazy. Look at the margin of error. That'd be bigger than it is there. You see, we've done ourselves well. We've found two. Most importantly now, we've taken our total to 10 Dave Gormans. And that delights me. Because I think 10 Dave Gormans in anyone's language, I think you'd all agree with me there, that's a focus group. These are the 10 Dave Gormans we've met. There they are. Now, let's compare them with a random sample of the population at large. Let's say maybe the first 5 people on the first 2 rows here. OK, so from you, madam, to you, sir, with the glasses, and the same on the row behind you. Now, I don't know how this is going to work out. Let's have a look. Of the 10 Dave Gormans we've met so far, I can tell you for a fact that 40% of them are Scottish. OK, and how does that compare? Is anyone here Scottish? OK, so you're 40% behind Dave Gormans there. I can also tell you that 30% of these Dave Gormans have got artificially enhanced eyesight. OK, and that compares to 30% here as well. Contact lenses, well, you're cheating. I'm going to call it 30% because you're a charlatan. OK, so there's 30% there. Well done, Dan. You're holding up their end there for them. That's 30% having an artificial enhancer. One of the most obvious things, I think everyone spotted this straight away that compares with this sample. Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4 there. This Dave Gorman sample, they are clearly 100% male. Which compares with only 60% from the sample of the population at large. So clearly, Dave Gorman's far from average at that point also. Now, I think clearly, again, doesn't take much examination to realise that 40% of these men have lived with or live with people called Dave Gorman. And that compares with only, well, 10% of that population there. Well done, Danny, you're my flatmate. So Dave Gorman's, I think, far from average on every count there. That's nice to know. But let's consider them as just Dave Gorman's alone. If we take a map of Europe, there it is, and we add an axis, horizontal and vertically, through my flat. Now, if we add the locations of the Dave Gormans we've met so far, like so, let's consider, first of all, say, the Dave Gormans in Scotland. There they are. There's 3 in Glenrothes, 1 in Edinburgh. They're dragging us quite far north. And there's these 3 Dave Gormans down here, 2 in Italy, 1 in France. They're all dragging us quite far south. On average, it works out the average Dave Gorman lives approximately 15 miles north of my flat. However, if we consider the other axes, you can see that these Dave Gormans here, all the ones in Britain, are basically dragging us out west slightly, and the Dave Gormans in continental Europe are dragging us out east. Now, if you work that out, the average Dave Gorman lives approximately 217 miles to the east of my flat. I've worked it out, I've done the maths. I can tell you for a fact, the average Dave Gorman lives here. I've worked it out on a map and know where it is. The average Dave Gorman lives in Katwijk aan Zee. It's on the coast of Holland. And you know, the weirdest thing is, I've checked. And there isn't one there. And I've been through the maths 4 or 5 times. It's definitely where he's meant to be. He must be on holiday. However, let's not get all excited about a bit of simple mathematics. Let's remember the graph. That's where we are. That's where it left us. We'd met 10 Dave Gormans. We've travelled 5,247 miles to meet them. You can do that one in your head, but you don't need to. I'm here to do the maths for you. We've left us there at 525 miles per Dave Gorman. We're just outside of the zone. But I think at this point, it is worth pausing to reflect on what that graph would look like if Royal Leamington Spa Dave Gorman had deigned to meet us. We're in the zone now, aren't we? You get an extra Dave Gorman earlier on, you get an extra Dave Gorman later on. That's the way it works. We're in the zone now. I think some of you are beginning to share my hatred for him, aren't you? I think you're beginning to see sense. However, that is not what the graph looks like, because he didn't meet us. So we're outside by 25 miles per Dave Gorman. It's not so bad. We can rein that in. We got back from Italy. I found a lovely letter waiting for me from a lovely man. You know his name. He lives in the southwest of England, in a little town called Warminster. There it is. We went out to meet him as soon as we could. We didn't meet him in Warminster where he lives. We met him in a little village where he works called Bishopstrow. There I am in Bishopstrow. In particular, we met him at the seafood factory that he works at. There I am outside the factory. And here's me meeting him in his lunch hour. A lovely man. You know his name. Here he is, Dave Gorman. Look at that. Oh, what a great man he is. And I'll tell you what, because I was going to see a seafood factory, as you can see, I took my pet prawn along on my shoulder. Thought he might make some friends. And it was a pleasure to meet him. And there he is, you know his name. He's a business development manager for a seafood company. So you know what he does for a living, you know his name. You can see him there making his broad-shouldered way in the world. I think it's an interesting question about this man. See if you can guess. How old do you think he looks?
52.
48.
OK, largely around 50, 48, 50, generally. OK, well, I asked him, because I wanted to see how he compared to the average Dave Gorman, who is 37.5 and living in Holland, as you know. I could play you the tape and show you his answer. But I'm not going to do that. Because I don't want to do that. And I don't have to do that. Because he's here tonight. We are blessed. We are in the presence of yet another Dave Gorman. He's being looked after backstage by my assistant, little Dave Gorman from Edinburgh, number 5. Please, make them welcome as I say, welcome to the stage, Dave Gorman's 5 and 11! Nice to see you again. OK. There you go. There's 3 Dave Gormans on a stage at the same time. It's a photo opportunity if you want to take it. No? OK. You surprised me. Dave, they've had their guess. You can tell them. How old are you?
Well, Dave, I'm 29.
I'm not calling you a liar, Dave. Have you got any ID?
Just in case.
OK, I've got your passport. That's got your date of birth, and I'm going to show this to the camera. He's absolutely right. He's born in 1971. There he is. Dave Gorman, born in 1971. He is indeed 29, exactly as he says. You lot should feel ashamed of yourselves. You really should. There you go, Dave. Thanks very much for that. He's 29. He's younger than he looks. He's younger than average. It's difficult to believe, but the oldest man on this stage is the one on the end. Number 5. Very glad to have you. Go on, give him a treat. Say it for them one more time. Go on.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman.
Oh! That man is 29 years of age. That man is 29 years of age, and that man is 29 years of age, and there is nothing of a mirror between us. However, we're in the southwest of England, and we thought we could find more while we were there, so that's what we did. We travelled from Warminster into Swindon. We managed to find another one. Here he is. His name's Dave Gorman.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
There you go. He's a lorry driver, but he's a new man. He's Danny's favourite, isn't he? You liked him best of all. No disrespect to numbers 5 and 11, but 12 really did it for Danny. Really did. He's a lovely bloke. Lots of hospitality, tea like you wouldn't, just kept coming. He showed us... We spent about 3 or 4 hours with him, right? The longest we'd spent with any of the Dave Gormans at this stage. And he's got a massive family, a massive extended family going back years. He's got photos. He loves to talk about it. He really does.
That's the family cottage in Ireland. And that's myself there. When I was, I don't know, perhaps 2. That was our camping holidays in the New Forest. That's an uncle, it's another Gorman. He's a Martin Gorman. That map, I think, is dated 1560.
Right.
But there you'll see the name O'Gorman there. Apparently quite a few of us got hanged in Dunbeg.
Right.
I've never met a man with more proof of his Gormanness in my life. And he knew loads of Gormans. He knew Martins, he knew Eds, he knew Tommies. But he didn't know one Dave. It's infuriating. And besides, we had to go. Much as I wanted to stay, we had to go. And as we left, he was very emotional. As we got to the door, he shook my hand. He went, I wish you wouldn't go. Got me right there, really did. Lovely man, but we had to go because we knew where there was another Dave Gorman hiding. We found him. He's in North London. He works in a doctor's surgery. Here he is. Oh, lovely. Works in a doctor's surgery. As you can see, they've stolen his eyes. and extended his arms. Lovely little trick they've got. He does wear a name badge at work, but don't think he's an imposter. He's the real deal.
Oh, my name's Dave Gorman.
There you go. Now, that is a fantastic trip. We've been to Swindon and back, and we've met 3 Dave Gormans. That's not very far at all. That's going to do wonders for the graph. We weren't far out of the zone. I'm very confident this is what it did to the graph. in there. Doesn't come much better than that. 423 miles per Dave Gorman, that is. We've met 13 Dave Gormans. We've travelled 5,503 miles. That is 423. 423 miles per Dave Gorman. That's exactly what we're after. And I'm delighted, because we've now met 13 Dave Gormans.
Hello. 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 My name's Dave. Dave Gorman. Hello.
Unlucky for some, but it's lucky for me, because it's put me back in the zone. And as the numbers swell, and you see more and more of their faces, there's more and more of an opportunity for you to bump into a Dave Gorman. Now, ladies and gentlemen, tonight you have learned about a very special time in my life. I think in many ways tonight we've all spiritually met Dave Gorman 7 through 13. We have more than doubled the number of polaroids in my album. And I hope that you have learnt some measure of respect for the Dave Gormans you've learnt about tonight. Young and old, and not as old as they look. Alike. But it's not all about tonight. Tomorrow morning, when you get up and go about your business, you might well bump into any one of these 13 men. And if that is to happen, I ask only this of you. Please, 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 don't get in their way. Don't hassle them with your questions. But do, please, do give them a big hello hug from me. Tell them that Dave Gorman says hello, and when they ask which Dave Gorman, tell them all of them. Now, I know that most of you are thinking, yeah, I'll do that. But I also know that you are fickle people. And in a few days' time, this will no longer be the most important moment of your life. Which is why I'm asking each and every one of you to take an oath of allegiance, swearing that you will respect the Dave Gormans of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please raise your right hands, follow the words on the screen, and say it with me. I
do solemnly swear that I will do everything within my power to respect, honour, and, if necessary, obey all Dave Gormans. I promise that whenever I meet a Dave Gorman, I will say hello from you, the Dave Gorman I see before me now. I will do this wherever in the world I so happen to be. But not in my business car. For it is a sport toad and a rotter, who unfortunately bears that name. Forever and ever, Dave Gorman.
My name's Dave Gorman. The hunt continues. Good night.
Quite the best taxi to any airport I've ever had.
For us, there is only one Dave Gorman.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman. You may remember me from such memorable clips as this. Hello, my name's Dave Gorman. Yes, that's right. I'm Dave Gorman number 5. This is the Dave Gorman Collection, and I'm a collectee, not the collector. But will you please welcome my namesake, Dave Gorman.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman. Recently, me, my flatmate Danny, his video camera, and my credit card have been travelling the world trying to find, meet, shake the hand of, and photograph other people called Dave Gorman. Danny has set me a challenge to find 54 Dave Gormans, one for every card in the deck, including the Jokers. It's a happy flat we share. We've been to East Fife to meet Dave Gorman.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
And also his son, Dave Gorman.
Hello, my name is David Gorman.
And then to Tooting.
Hello.
Before returning to East Fife and also to Edinburgh.
Hello.
Hello.
Now, the Canadian Dave Gorman that lives in France that we met in Greenwich
Hello.
suggested we fire off random emails which led to us discovering this Dave Gorman.
Hello.
Who is an American serviceman stationed in Italy. He was one of the most helpful Dave Gormans because just like the first Dave Gorman we met,
Hello.
he named his son Dave Gorman.
Hello, my name is David Gorman.
He also named his other son Justin David Gorman. But of course he doesn't count. You've got to have rules. Then, in one afternoon in London and the South West, we met 3 more Dave Gormans.
Hello. Hello. My name's Dave Gorman.
So that's 13 Dave Gormans, and we've travelled 5,503 miles. All of which, I'm sure you agree, is very satisfying. It's particularly satisfying because as well as chasing a grand total of 54, we're also trying to control the miles per Dave Gorman. We're trying to keep it somewhere between 300 and 500 miles per Dave Gorman. And you can see that represented by this zone here. Now, our current total of 5,503 miles for 13 Dave Gormans gives us this. 423 miles per Dave Gorman. Almost slap bang in the middle of the zone there. However, it was about this time that life started to get a little strange. Somebody, I don't know who, using an obviously made-up Hotmail account, emailed me saying, I know you're looking for Dave Gormans, I can help you. Included in their email was a business directory from New York. That page there. As you can see, all these Gorman businesses, most of them not interesting me, but there, in amongst them, David B. Gorman, MD, 911 Park Avenue, New York, New York. He's got a very illustrious business address. I was very, very excited. Most importantly, his name was Dave Gorman. So we flew to New York as soon as we could. If you don't believe me, there's my boarding card. People have accused me of faking the boarding card. It is not a fake, it is real. I have been to New York. If you don't believe me, here's me in New York. If you're not convinced, there's always more proof. If you don't believe me, here I am in New York. There's the Statue of Liberty. And who's this? You see, I went there. And I jumped in a taxi, excited. I shouted, 911 Park Avenue. He said, don't shout. I said it. He said, better. And this taxi delivered us to this illustrious address, and I jumped out of the taxi. I was really excited. My blood was pumping. It was like being in a film for a minute. And I was about to ring his bell, and all of a sudden... arse. I was not happy. And why was I not happy? Take a closer look at that nameplate. B. David Gorman. B. David Gorman. I'm not having that. If we're not having Justin David Gorman in Vicenza, we're not having chuffing Barry David Gorman or Brian David Gorman or Bernard David Gorman or whatever the hell he was. B. David Gorman. No, it's not all right then. It's first names. I want that David Gorman. I'm not having... It doesn't matter. No, that's cheating. B. David Gorman. That's no use to me, okay? I'm going to get a taxi, and if you want to be in it, you want to... Did you notice that Danny considered going in anyway? So we didn't meet B. David Gorman. We'd gone all the way to New York, and we gave up and we came home. Of course we didn't! We were in New York! We ran around and we did some work! And I'm really proud of this, I tell you. We rustled up some fantastic Dave Gormans on this trip. Because by now, I had some kind of really odd, highfalutin idea that somehow we would manage to find Dave Gormans who could represent all humanity. I'll be honest with you, that hasn't really happened. It's an Irish surname. We've largely found people like myself, pasty white skin and red beards. But in New York, we really did manage to broaden the cultural diversity of the group. And I'm really, really proud of this. For a start, we managed to find a Dave Gorman who is a homosexual. It's our first one yet. We also managed to find a Jewish Dave Gorman, both of whom delight me because they broaden the cultural diversity of the group. And that is exactly what we're after. We want the brotherhood to be as wide as it possibly can. I'm going to show you individual pictures of both those men. I think it might make for an interesting quiz. See if you can guess which one's which. Here's one of them. OK? And here's the other. I'm not saying you should go one way or another, I'm just saying one of those men is Jewish, one of them is a homosexual. That's all I'm telling you. I'm not giving you any clues. Let's look at them together, see if that helps. There they are. On some fictional date that never happened. They are both absolutely lovely men. This is the Jewish one.
Hello, my name is David Gorman. Have a good day.
And he's a lovely fellow. He's a stockbroker, works on Fifth Avenue, really kind of high-powered financial existence he lives in. He gave us 20 minutes of his lunch out. You've got to love him for that. Especially because when you're going looking for people who share an Irish background, you wouldn't expect to find people with his background.
My 4 grandparents probably are from Russia. You know, when you emigrate to a country and you can't pronounce your name.
Yeah.
And he came in and he said his name was Gorodetsky, maybe. The guy said, well, you're not Gorodetsky, you're a man, you're a Gorman. But I am a Gorman.
What a lovely fella. But the next one, he is my favourite Dave Gorman. This is the homosexual Dave Gorman.
Hello, my name is David Gorman.
Oh, isn't he lovely? Isn't he nice? I love him. We spent such a great time in the park with him. We just talking and chatting and going on forever. He's really comfortable in his own skin. He knows he really likes his place in the world. It's so nice when you meet someone like that. And I don't know about you, but I think people make good company if they like laughing. And I'll tell you what, this fella likes laughing. If you don't believe me, take a look at this.
It's...
yeah, absolutely. And that's been edited down. And he's a nice man. You know, he cares about other people as well. He cares about me.
How are you guys funding this?
That's quite a sensible question. He cares about Danny.
So, Dad, are you sick to death of meeting guys named David Gorman?
That's a chuffing stupid question. He really is, from a hand on my heart, one of my favourite Dave Gormans. He's a fantastic man. I wish I could tell you that he was a bouncer, because I would love to have Dave Gorman the gay doorman. You can't have everything, OK? You've got to learn that lesson. However, he does try his hardest to fulfil as many homosexual stereotypes as he possibly can. I love him for this. He moved to New York originally to be an actor. That fell through. He's now studying interior design. And he lives in Queens. So, what more could you want, frankly? I was very, very proud. We'd met 2 Dave Gormans. We'd broadened the cultural diversity of the group. I was very happy. We're back at the hotel. I'm chilling out. I'm relaxing. I'm just feeling proud of myself. All of a sudden, I get a phone call from the lobby saying there's a journalist downstairs who'd like to meet you. And I thought, that's odd. I don't know how this man knows I'm in New York, let alone in this hotel. That's a bit weird. So I went down to meet him as soon as I could.
Hey, how are you?
That's Danny.
Good to see you. How you doing?
Right. There you go. You'll never guess what that man's name is. Any guesses? No, his name is Ellis Henneken. He's a lovely man. He's a proper kind of... He's almost a stereotyped, fast-talking New York kind of a journo. He walked us around town, he took us out for a bite to eat, and he gave me a bit of a going over, and frankly, a bit of a telling off.
Gorman is like a mirror. Where's the ethnic and the racial diversity?
How are the Asian David Gorman?
But Gorman! You're not a multicultural kind of a guy? All God's creatures. That's what we want. Evil. Evil David Gorman.
But he did promise to write a nice article spreading the word and spreading our message. So the next day, I was like an 8-year-old boy on his birthday going down to collect the post. I rushed straight out to the newsstands to see if it was printed. I couldn't believe my luck. Tuesday. It's on the stand. Look at that beauty! Look at that! That is page 6. That is half of page 6 of one of New York's biggest daily papers. And look at that headline. Take in that headline and spare a thought for gay Dave Gorman, the failed actor. Imagine him buying his local paper, finding that headline. For a minute, he'd think his time had come. And it turns out to be a story about that bloke he met yesterday. How infuriating would that be? It's a great article. I was very, very happy with it. Here it is. This is the thing. Is your name Dave Gorman? Maybe you know someone named Dave Gorman. Either way, there's a young British fellow who would very much like to speak with you. He's holed up this weekend at the Roosevelt Hotel in Manhattan. His name, of course, is Dave Gorman. Quotes. It would be splendid if someone... I never ever said splendid. I want to make that perfectly clear. I did not say splendid, right? He's projecting his image of an Englishman onto me there. That's what they do. I did not say that. It's not a direct quote. He's made that up. I don't mind. I don't mind because it is such a nice article. At the end of the article, he gives my email address. He encourages other Dave Gormans to get in touch. At the front of the article, he mentions the name of the hotel we're staying at. He encourages other Dave Gormans to get in touch. One man did. This is him.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman.
Now, he lives in New York State. He doesn't actually live in New York City. He lives in a little town called Mount Kisco. This is where we went to meet him. Oh, yeah, quite flash. Mount Kisco is about an hour north of New York on the railroad. As we were going through, though, the stop before Mount Kisco is a little town called Chappaqua. And that rang a little bell with me, because when we'd met this guy...
Have a good day.
He'd told me that he lived in Chappaqua. And when I'd asked him about it, it gave me an interesting fact.
I live in Chappaqua.
Chappaqua.
Yep. You know where Hillary and Bill Clinton live?
So now we're in Mount Kisco, and we know that Bill and Hillary Clinton live about 2 miles down the track. And I think the whole area's really buzzing about it, because they'd only recently moved in. And within 10 minutes of meeting the Dave Gorman in Mount Kisco, he suggested going for a drive trying to find Bill and Hillary's house. So me and Dan, we're like the kids on the coolest school trip ever. We jump in the car, we're going to find the President of America's house. And we're driving up these streets, and they start off, I'm full of confidence. I know it's only a couple of miles away, it can't take long. And we're driving, and I'm getting the idea he doesn't really know where it is. And now I know he has no idea where it is. This is a bit of tape on which he thinks he's found it, then he gets angry with himself for not finding it. When he says the last sentence of this tape, you'll know we're never, ever, ever going to find this house.
That's it. Is that it? Damn, no, that's not it. Son of a bitch, where is this place? Sorry, guys. That's okay. No I blew it. I know it's on this road. You know, I was here at night. Someone else was driving. I think I had a few drinks in me, but it's one of these little side drinks.
Somebody else was driving, and I think I had a few drinks in me. At which point you know you're not going to take... Fine. Now, take a look, though. That's the weather. You can see it. The sun's out there. This is what happened about 5 minutes later. If you listen closely, the sound on this is really bad. If you listen closely, you will hear him say at the top of this, there's a tree down.
Ooh, what's going on? Tree down. You can get a little more of a tree. Wow, wow. That is... You know, that's just denting and scratching the hell out of my car.
It's about 7:20 on a summer's evening. A tree has been blown over, blocking the road. There's rain you can't see through. There are big bits of tree hitting the car. I know the picture quality isn't great here. The sound is appalling, but that is because we've driven into a 100-mile-an-hour tornado. So he turns round, he says, I'll find another way to the train station. I'm thinking, yeah, you think you know the way to the President's house. That's gonna work. 5 minutes later, we find another tree blocking another road. Now, I know it's difficult to make out with these pictures, but take a look at this, right?
Whoa, this is bad. Oh, no. Holy shit. Man, look at that. I'll get you close so you can take a look at it. Can you see that? Bad night in New York.
Trees are being blown over in the road. I'm shitting myself. And he actually said in there, I'll take you closer so you can take a look at that. I don't want to take a look at it. I suspect a lot of people that take a closer look at tornadoes end up being hit by a tree. At this point, I'm getting quite paranoid. I think if you go looking for the President of America's house and you end up in a 100-mile-an-hour tornado, you're entitled to ask just how powerful are the FBI. I'm also getting quite frightened for my life. This is not how I want to die. What would the authorities think if they found a car with 2 men in it, both dead, not related, never met before, both called Dave Gorman? That's like an episode of The X-Files waiting to happen. Now, at the time, all I knew was the weather was bad. I knew there were trees in the road. I didn't know how bad. It was only later that I heard on TV that it was a 100-mile-an-hour tornado. I have tried to find a weather report from a New York TV station to prove it to you. I can't find one. but I have had an email correspondence with a New York weatherman, a man called Jim McFadden. Hi, Dave. Here is some of the weather info you requested. On June the 2nd, 2000, the high temperature was 88 degrees and humid. There was a squall line that passed through northern Westchester County between 6:30 and 8:30 p.m. There was some damage as an F1 on the Fujita scale tornado made its way through the county. The 3rd of June was a beautiful day. Need any more info? Email me any time. Have a bloody good day. Brackets, did I use that properly? So from Jim McFadden, I've learnt we were in an F1 tornado on the Fujita scale. I've no idea what the Fujita scale means. I've no idea. So I've looked it up. Here it is. There you go. That is the Fujita scale of tornadoes. We were in an F1, and, you know, I'm slightly disappointed to learn that it's moderate. My favourite thing about this is the way the scientists have decided to classify this. Beyond devastating, incredible! That's just incredible! Isn't that good? I love that. Still, all we know from that is the wind speeds of a moderate tornado. So I decided to look it up further. Let's find out what the F1 actually means. The lower limit is the beginning of hurricane wind speed. That means I was in at least a hurricane. Worse than a hurricane. That's what I've been in, OK? It's not a moderate tornado, it's worse than a hurricane. Bear that in mind. Peels shingles off roofs, mobile homes pushed off foundations or overturned, and worst of all, considering what we were doing during this tornado, moving autos pushed off roads. And what were we doing? We were driving around in a moving auto. That's what we were doing. I'm not entirely happy about that. I don't want to ever be in a tornado again, but if I am, I want to know what you should do. So I've looked it up on the internet. I found tornado advice. This is what you're meant to do if you're in a tornado. Tornadoes can change direction quickly. Get out of the car immediately and take shelter in a nearby building. Not take a closer look. We shouldn't have been driving around taking a look. We should have been sitting in Bill Clinton's house. If only he'd known where it was. But he didn't, did he? So what are you meant to do if you can't find a building? I was frightened. The whole thing. I genuinely thought I was in danger. He got us back to the train station and went, you know I didn't die. That's why I'm here now to tell you this story. But I got back to the Mount Kisco train station, I was shaking. We got a train into New York, an hour later, I was still shaking. I got into the hotel, I'm still shaking. I'm at the lift, and a voice on reception suddenly shouts out, Mr. Gorman, there's an envelope for you here. And I pick it up with a shaking hand, and inside that envelope I find 2 pieces of photocopied paper. Invitations, inviting myself and Danny out to a party that night. This was the night of the Tony Awards, the biggest awards in the world of musical theatre. We turned up at the party being held by the company who've just won Best Musical, Best Actor in a Musical, and Best Actress in a Musical. Everyone else, suited, booted, dressed up to the nines, champagne, me and him, English, jeans, pint. Really conspicuous. He was just off, talking to people, mixing, talking to a guy from Dukes of Hazzard, paying Miss Georgia far too much attention. I was hiding in the corner. It's quite easy to hide at, because they were too busy winning. And Americans win well. Frankly, I think this might be a bit over the top. See what you think.
Gone on to be presented to almost all of the greatest musicals.
I mean, that's just for winning a Tony. Huh? Anyone would think he'd put his graph in the zone. So anyway, I'm at this party. I'm sort of hiding in the corner, trying not to bring attention to myself, because I feel like I don't look like I fit in. And this man comes up to me, and he says, excuse me, who are you? And I go, it's all right, I'm allowed to be here, I've got an invitation. And he goes, no, that's fine, I'm not worried about that. I'm just asking, because I'm trying to find someone I invited, but I've never met them. I went, all right, well, this sounds a bit weird as well. My name's Dave Gorman, I'm trying to meet other people called Dave Gorman. He went, it's you! Fantastic! And he ran into the cloakroom. He came back 30 seconds later with a present for me. I've got that present with me here tonight. It's a video. It's a proper film. It's got Kevin Kline, Joan Allen and Sigourney Weaver in it. He put that in my hand. He went, there's a Dave Gorman in there. I'm in New York, and a complete stranger is giving me this video, a Kevin Kline movie, a proper Hollywood film, and he's telling me there is a Dave Gorman in there. I was so excited. I grabbed Danny as soon as I could, away from Miss Georgia. He's never forgiven me. We ran back to the hotel. I had a video installed in my room. We watched the film immediately. We didn't watch the film, actually. We spooled to the end. We watched the credits. Because that was the bit I was interested in. I'm trying to find Dave Gorman. These are the credits as they roll at the end of the film. There it is. The Ice Storm. It's directed by Ang Lee, Kevin Kline, Joan Allen, Courtney Peldon, Henry Shirley, Adam Ham-Bird, David Krumholtz, Toby Maguire, Christina Ricci, Jamie Sheridan, Elijah Wood, Sigourney Weaver, Katie Holmes, Michael Cumsty. Well, he's not amongst that lot. Never mind, there's more. Let's have a look if we go down further. The rest of them are in alphabetical order. That should be helpful. Let's have a look. Burton, Kane, Camp, Danziger, Egerman, Farrell, Fitzgerald, Flagg, Freeman, Garrick, Ganzamiris, Hickey. Well, he should have been between those lot, shouldn't he? If he's a Gorman, that's where he should have been. He's not there. And that's a bit odd. So I wasn't sure what to do, so we rewound it and watched it again. I'm going to show it you again, but this time, don't look over here, where real people are. Take a look at this side, where fictional people are. I don't understand. It's there, for no reason at all, right down at the bottom of the list, in between people who don't have any name at all, and people who do have names but they don't deserve surnames, directly between Marty and Sue, and Mike, his teacher, and pharmacy attendant, is a fictional character called Dave Gorman. And I've watched this film, I've worked out who that man is. And at no point during the entire film does anyone ever use either of his names. He is never once referred to as Dave or Mr. Gorman. He doesn't even have a line in the film. If I was compiling that list, that would say man at party. But some quirk of fate, some lovely little twist of fate has decided to hand to me on a plate a fictional Dave Gorman. Oh, I was so excited. I'm in New York and I'm sniffing blood. We wake up with 8 hours to go before our plane leaves for London. We're running all over town, ringing every theatrical agent we can, trying to find the actor involved, Mr. Larry Pine. I'm speaking to a theatrical agent, he says, I know him, he's really good, he's not one of ours. He's on Broadway right now in a very successful play. I rang the theatre, I left a message, Larry Pine rang me back, he agreed to meet me. This is me meeting a fictional Dave Gorman. Look at that. Oh, yes. That got the blood pumping, I can tell you. That got my adrenaline going. That's what he looks like. This is what he sounds like.
Hello. My name's Larry Pine, but I once played Dave Gorman.
And the truth is, I said to him, you played Dave Gorman in The Ice Storm, and he went, did I? That's how small a part that was. But now, how excited was I on the plane home from New York? We managed to find 4 Dave Gormans. One of them is Jewish, one of them is a homosexual, one of them drove us into a 100-mile-an-hour tornado, and one of them does not exist. But don't try to tell me I can't have him. He might be fictional, but I shook his hand, and as far as I'm concerned, he counts. And besides, I think when you learn what that did to the graph, you're going to want him to count as well. This is our graph before we went to New York. There you go. We're sitting pretty. We're in the zone. We've been to New York. We've found 4 Dave Gormans. This is what it's done to us. I know. It is absolutely heartbreaking, isn't it? The damage has been done. It's just too far. Who knows? Look at that for a margin of error. We've never had it as big as that. Look at all those miles out of the zone. It's absolutely crazy. Who knows if that damage can be undone? We've travelled 12,631 miles. We've met 17 Dave Gormans. That gives us a statistic of 743 miles per Dave Gorman. We are 243 miles per Dave Gorman outside of the zone. I was devastated. But it gets worse. If you remember, after we'd met 10 Dave Gormans, we worked out where the average Dave Gorman lives. Now, that's the map of Europe, with horizontal vertical axes drawn through my flat. So we worked out the average Dave Gorman basically lives there. There's a town called Katwijk aan Zee, it's on the Dutch coast. Now, let's consider that on a global scale. There you go. We've added these 4 all the way over here. They're dragging us so far west and so far north. I can tell you, I've done the maths, I've checked it, but the new average Dave Gorman lives there. The average Dave Gorman is drowning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not happy about that. Not only are we 243 miles out of the zone, we're drowning the average Dave Gorman. And I can see what you're thinking. You're taking in those facts. You're thinking, OK, we're out of the zone. OK, he's drowning. And you're all asking the same question. You're thinking, Dave, what does the average Dave Gorman face look like? Well, these are the first two Dave Gormans I met. This is what they look like if you put them together. But if we had the next three Dave Gormans, you get this. But what happens when you add the next 12 in to get up to the 17 we've met so far? The average Dave Gorman is a well-meaning humanities teacher with a monocle. And he's drowning. But don't be downhearted, because we've met 17 Dave Gormans. We're closer to our target of 54 than we were when we started, and that's still a good thing. And I can tell you that these men are fine men. And who knows what tomorrow will bring. Maybe one of you will meet one of these men. If you are lucky enough to meet a Dave Gorman or two, when you finally stop showing off, I ask only this of you. Don't follow them around all day, asking them for money. But please, please, give them a big hello hug from me. Now, I know that right now you're thinking that's a good idea, you want to hug a Dave Gorman. I also know that you're fickle. And that's why I'm asking each and every one of you to take an oath of allegiance, swearing that you will respect the Dave Gormans of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please raise your right hands, follow the words on the screen, and say it with me. I solemnly swear that I will do everything within my power to respect, honour, and, if necessary, obey all Dave Gormans. I promise that whenever I meet a Dave Gorman, I will not hassle, bother, or pester him in any way. But I will give him a big hello hug from you, the Dave Gorman I see before me now. However, I will not honour, respect, obey, or hug such men as these David Gorman, for he is a time waster, a pretender, and a charlatan, who will never truly bear the name Dave Gorman. My name's Dave Gorman. Thank you very much. Good night.
And our Dave Gorman continues his quest next Thursday, 11:20, here on BBC.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman. For the last few months, me, my flatmate Danny, his video camera, and my credit card have been trying to find, meet, shake the hand of, and photograph other Dave Gormans. I'm trying to meet 54 Dave Gormans because Danny there has challenged me to find one for every card in the deck, including the Jokers. And we're trying to travel between 300 and 500 miles per Dave Gorman, as represented by this zone here. If things are going well, we're in this golden cone. So what do we know so far? Well, these were the first 6 Dave Gormans we met.
Hello, my name is David Gorman.
And they left that graph looking like this. Not good. But then we found these 2 Dave Gormans.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
Who soon put us back on track, as you can see here. Yay! But the next 2...
Hello,
my name is
David Gorman.
Live in Italy. And they took us to here. Some hard work found us these Dave Gormans.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
Which meant we'd met 13 Dave Gormans.
Hello.
I'm I'm very proud. And we were back where we belonged. But now a trip to New York has done us untold damage, even though we managed to find 4 Dave Gormans.
Hello. My name is David Gorman. Have a good day.
This is what it's done to us. Devastating. And this is where we are. 743 miles per Dave Gorman. But I get knocked down and I get up again. You ain't ever going to keep me down. When things go wrong, I don't get downhearted, I work harder. And that's what we propose to do. Clearly, if we're going to arrest this situation, it's time to look local. Now, if you've been following the story, you might remember when we met this man.
Hello.
When I asked him for an idea to help me find more Dave Gormans, this is what he said.
Stickers. Car stickers.
We'll start doing
I'm
that.
in a Dave Gorman club, are you? Yeah. Own this number.
Well, let's get on to that.
And get onto that we did. I had 500 car stickers printed up. Here's one of them. Not sure whose car that was. But I did put one on my car as well. But it didn't seem to get much of a reaction. I was waiting, looking at the hotline, waiting for it to go. No one was ringing as a result of the car sticker. Until one day, after we'd been to New York, some unknown international traveller had seen my car in the car park at the airport. They left this message.
Oh, yeah, hello there. I was in Heathrow a couple of hours ago and I saw a sticker in a car saying, "Are you in the Dave Gorman Club?"
So we followed it up. He left his number, we got in touch with him, we found another Dave Gorman off the back of that. And we went to meet him as soon as he could, because it was manna from heaven. He was local. He lives within the M25. That's exactly what we're after. He lives in a little town called Kingswood. He works for Legal & General, insurance company. We went to meet him as soon as we could. Here's me meeting him. There you go. He's a lovely Dave Gorman. He works in insurance, like I say, but as you can see, he plays guitar at the weekends. That's what he looks like. This is what he sounds like.
Hello. My name's Dave Gorman.
That's him. That's his face there. You know he works in insurance, you know what he does at the weekends, you know his name. You know quite a lot about him. I think it's an interesting question about him. Let's see, how old do you think he looks? Any guesses? 30. 30?
25.
25? OK, 25, 30. Well, this man is 40 years of age. That's what playing guitar at the weekends does for you, clearly. A little bit of rock and roll in your life, that's what you need. If you don't believe me, here he is.
I'll be 40.
No way.
I'll be 40 in August.
My God, congratulations, man. You do not look 40.
Well, that's very kind of you to say so.
Does that man look 40?
It's the portrait. It's the portrait in the attic, as my wife said.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's the hair. Now, one of the things I asked him, insurance Dave Gorman, one of the things I asked him, I ask every single Dave Gorman I meet, do you know anyone else called Dave Gorman? I was delighted by his answer.
So have you met any other Dave Gormans or know of any others?
There is, bizarrely enough, one other bloke who works for L&G down in is it Eastbourne? I've never met him.
Eastbourne?
No, is it Eastbourne? I think it was Eastbourne.
There's another Dave Gorman who works for the same company as him, and he thinks he lives in Eastbourne. This is where we are. We've travelled from home to Kingswood. That's Eastbourne. Well, we're part of the way there, aren't we? It's not so bad. Makes sense to me to finish the job. I was sorely tempted when we left him.
Should we go to Eastbourne?
Yeah. Let's go meet Eastbourne.
Let's go to... Yeah, I think we'll head to Eastbourne and we'll see if we can find him as well.
You're joking. You're not just going to just arbitrarily go down there, are you?
Yeah.
Are you clearly are.
No, well, we can, so why wouldn't we? We've got a car.
Well, he might not be there.
Let's go to Eastbourne.
He's quite right, he might not be there. But on the other hand, he might be. And that's enough. We went down to Eastbourne, we got him, we did meet him. Here he is, one of my favourite bits of tape.
I think, right, yeah. And you got her behind as well. I read behind.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
Oh, jackpot! And this is really, really sweet. It really is. I felt so guilty. We interrupted a very, very important part of his day.
We play Scrabble most lunchtimes.
Fantastic. Are you waiting to start?
No, we're just about to start when you arrived, yeah. We have a couple of hours, we have bite to eat and then a challenge match, which has been going on for
years.
20 years.
Filled one book.
Yeah, 20 years. Yeah,
Oh, we keep a record.
I'm just going to recap what's been said there. They play Scrabble every lunchtime. They have a 2-hour challenge match. They've done that for 20 years. And they've kept a record of all the scores. That is quite scary. She said, we've already filled one book. Oh, yeah, we keep a record. If you don't believe me, here it is.
This is full up.
That's a proper old-fashioned ledger type of thing.
The D is me, obviously, 29. She won 31. And so we must have been players for over 20 years.
Could not believe it. It's like playing Top Trump's Obsession. Oh, yes. You might have come all the way to Eastbourne to meet a man who shares your name. No, no, no. I think you'll find this is obsessive. Lovely couple. We had to leave. We couldn't interrupt that game for too long. We had to leave, let them get on with Scrabble game number 7,364. We're on the south coast. This is where we are. And I figured, let's see what else we can find if we travel up this coast. We went to Brighton. We found this man.
Hello.
He's a carpet fitter, but most importantly...
My name's Dave Gorman.
We went from Brighton to Portsmouth. We found this man.
Hello.
He's a marine scientist, but most importantly...
My name's Dave Gorman.
And from Portsmouth, we hopped over to the Isle of Wight, where we found this man.
Hello.
That man is a semi-retired lighthouse technician. But most importantly...
My name's Dave Gorman.
And that man frightens me a little bit. For a start, he's the same colour as his house. On top of that, he's got weapons liberally sprinkled around the house. That there, on the floor of his utility room, is a cannon. That there, in the same room, a pair of swords. In his kitchen, he's got a gun. He went to great lengths to explain that's been decommissioned, he's got a certificate. In which case... Why is there a skull on his stairs? He's got a dead man's head on his stairs, he's got weapons all over the place, and he can camouflage himself at will. Scary. You might detect it in his accent. He's lived down south for a long time, but he's originally from Birmingham. You can hear it just in there. So I told him about the West Midlands Dave Gormans that we'd met. Now, there's not a Dave Gorman we've met. We haven't explained what we're doing. I'm trying to meet as many Dave Gormans as I can. I've told them all that story. Now, I tell him about the Dave Gorman in Wolverhampton and then the Dave Gorman in Bromsgrove. And there's something about his reaction to the Bromsgrove Dave Gorman that makes me think he hasn't quite been paying attention to me.
And we've met a Dave Gorman in Bromsgrove.
Oh, Bromsgrove?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you sure his name was Dave?
It'd blow a pretty big hole in the project, wouldn't it, if I forgot to ask them their first names? I've got the evidence.
My name's Dave Gorman.
Thank you. So, Kingswood, Eastbourne, Brighton, Portsmouth, the Isle of Wight. That is 5 Dave Gormans in 2 days. That is our best hunting so far. That's not very far at all. I was delighted. I was so happy. As a little treat, I bought Danny there a kite. I let him play on the beach.
Beautiful. Got caught in my nose.
Oh, those were happy days. We were singing songs in the car on the way back. I couldn't wait to draw that graph. Think of all the good work we'd done. But then I got home, and there wasn't time to draw the graph, because I found an email waiting for me saying, I know you're looking for Dave Gormans. I know another Dave Gorman. I work with him. He's from New Zealand. In particular, he's from Wellington. It's marked there on the southern tip of the North Island. I play by the rules of the game. If you tell me about a Dave Gorman, I go out to meet him as soon as I can. And that's what we did. Fortunately, he'd emigrated to London several years ago. Now lives in Norfolk, just north of Harrow. Went out to meet him as soon as we could. He's a lovely fella. His name's Dave Gorman. Here he is.
Hello, my name's David Gorman.
Oh, what a great big Kiwi bear of a man, isn't he? What a great one. That means we've been to Eastbourne, the Isle of Wight, and back into London. We've met 6 Dave Gormans for just that. That's not many miles. That's great hunting. I was so excited. I couldn't wait to show you this graph. And I think you're going to be excited by it as well. See what you think. Now, there is a tendency for people to be slightly disappointed when I show them that. There is no need to be. Look at this. When we were there, 17 Dave Gormans, that was our margin of error. It's huge. 243 miles for every Dave Gorman. But look at that. We've reduced it. Something much more manageable. Technically, it would have been impossible to hit the zone from this point. We'd have had to come down on a downward line. That's the number of miles. It can never go down. We've got to travel more miles. Unless I start giving birth to Dave Gormans, that's always going to be creeping up, OK? We've looked into it. The technology doesn't exist. Actually, it does, but they won't lend it to us. Apparently, we're too trivial. However, that's where we are. We've travelled 12,908 miles. We've now met 23 Dave Gormans. This is what it's done. 561 miles per Dave Gorman. We've been there before and we've reined it in. We can do that again. However, at this point, emails were coming thick and fast. There was not a day when there wasn't at least one email with more information about more Dave Gormans. And at this point, I received this email. It's from a Davey Gorman. Hello, Dave Gorman. I understand you are trying to meet people who share your name. I was christened David Gorman. Do I count? I think my great-grandfather's name was also David Gorman, although he is no longer with us. My family hails from Boston, but I now live and work in Hawaii. Interested? Sincerely, Davey Gorman. And of course I was interested. I got up the next day, I went straight to the phone, I started ringing travel agents. And I was on the phone waiting for them to pick up, and I suddenly thought, hang on a minute, that's a bit suspicious. And I put the phone down, and I went back and had another look at that email. Because that email came from an address, davey.gorman@hotmail.com. And I thought back to the time when we met this fella.
Hello.
And he had suggested we fire off random emails to different addresses. And we'd sent 3,000 emails off that day. We sent them to every address we could, to David Gorman, David.Gorman, David_Gorman, Gorman David, Dave Gorman, Dave.Gorman, Dave_Gorman, Gorman Dave, everything we could. We'd done everything at Hotmail that we possibly could. I know for a fact that we did Davey and Hotmail, and I know that it got rejected because it didn't exist. And that wasn't that long ago. And it's possible that someone else has come along and registered that address since, but it seems unlikely. It's certainly worthy of investigation, certainly before you buy an aeroplane ticket. So I've got a friend of mine in called Gareth, who's got a computer science degree. And he checked out my computer. Now, I don't think every computer has got a number that identifies it. And if you send an email, whatever address you send it from, if it goes from that computer, that number goes with it somehow. And you can find out what that number is, if you're Gareth. It's sort of view, source, Gareth. That's how you know. I have no idea how you do it. You can find that number. And if you've received 2 emails from the same computer from different addresses, you can cross-reference those numbers and find out whose account that came from. And I now know who is responsible for sending me that Hawaii email. That Hawaii email was sent to me by none other than Mr. Danny Wallace. My own son in flat, mate! Trying to make a free trip to Hawaii out of me when we would fail to find a Dave Gorman! Don't laugh at him for that! He doesn't deserve your approval! Oh, he's not in, Dave! Let's go to the beach! Ha, ha, ha! We didn't go to the beach, and he's now washing up for 3 months. To think I bought that man a kite! There's simply no gratitude in this world. I've got my assistant around here somewhere. Dave Gorman, number 5, where are you? Come on, I've got a job for you. Come on, I've got a job for you. Dave, that is Danny's kite. Take it away and destroy it. You deserve that. So we didn't go to Hawaii. However, we did end up getting on another plane. I've got a friend in this country called Hanna Lang Knudsen. She's a Norwegian. She's a student in this country. That's her there. Wearing her national dress. Hanna is a student in this country. She goes back to Norway in the holidays, and she works on the phone system as their equivalent of a 192 girl. So I bribed Hanna to break the laws of Norway and to see if she could hack into their system and find a David Gorman. Never expecting for a minute for her to come up with a result. She did find a David Gorman in Norway, so we flew out to meet him as soon as we could. If you don't believe me, that's my boarding card. As you can see, I flew out there on that day. And remember, when we were in New York, we learnt the power of the press. When we met this man...
How you doing?
That man is Ellis Henneken. He's a journalist, and he wrote this very lovely article. And it led to us meeting this fella.
Hello.
And in a roundabout way, it also led to us discovering this one.
Hello.
That is the power of the press. Now, I reckon if there's one Dave Gorman, there can always be two. So we went to Norway. I thought we'd maybe get the press interested here as well. And I got to Norway. I didn't know what our market was. I bought a couple of papers, and I rang them up. I rang the Dagbladet and the Aftenposten. Now, the Dagbladet is their equivalent of, like, the Sun. And the Aftenposten is like their equivalent of the Times. I thought I'd go at both markets. So I rang them up, and I was telling them the story. I'm talking to the Aftenposten. He's kind of going, yeah, you know, it's quite nice. I'm not really interested, sorry. Can't really help you. Sorry. Put the phone down. I rang the Dagbladet. Same thing. Oh, yeah, it's all right. It's quite nice. I'd like to help you, but I can't really. It's not really our kind of thing. Could you maybe spice it up a little bit? And I said, I'm embarrassed by this, but I said, we've got some T-shirts. You know, when you think of something and you're saying it, and as it's coming out of your mouth, you want to stop saying it. That was the situation. I wanted to not say it, but I'd said it. I said, oh, we've got some T-shirts. He said, what kind of T-shirts? I'm thinking on my feet. I said, stop me if you're Dave Gorman T-shirts. He said, which hotel are you staying at? I told him. He said, I'll come straight over. I put the phone down. I thought I'll ring the Aftenposten and try it on them as well. I rang them and said, did I mention we've got some T-shirts? He said, what kind of T-shirts? I said, stop me if you're Dave Gorman T-shirts. He said, I'll come round tomorrow morning. Don't tell the Dagbladet. This is what passes for spicy in Norway. T-shirts. That's all it took. So I ran and got Danny from his room. I said, we've got a journalist coming round straight away, but we need to get some T-shirts. So we ran into Oslo town centre. We got these done. Who would have thought that these simple T-shirts would cause such a media storm? It's quite frightening. So Anders, the guy from Dagbladet, comes round, he picks us up, he's worried about any other papers getting onto the story. He puts us in the back of a car, he takes us to a secret location to conduct his interview.
So it started, you were drinking. Okay. Do you remember the first night when the whole thing started? What time did you decide to meet as many as possible? Which one is your favorite Dave Gorman? He looks a bit suspicious. This might seem a bit strange for some people.
But more important than the interview were the photos of the T-shirt. And I told Anders that we wore these T-shirts every day as part of our Finding Dave Gorman's campaign. And he believed me. In spite of the fact that it is clearly brand spanking new, mine even has a 50 krona price tag hanging off the back of it. Absolutely incredible. So we do that interview, and we go back to the hotel, and we're walking into the lobby, and a man comes up to me and says, excuse me, are you Dave Gorman? And I'm thinking, how does he know that? And then I think, I'm wearing the T-shirts. And I say, yes, I am. Who are you? He says, I'm Simon from the Aftenposten. I said, you're coming round tomorrow morning? He said, we need to go now. We've got in touch with Dave Gorman in Norway. We want to go and meet him straight away so no one else can get onto it. And he bundles me and Danny to the back of his car, and he drives to Sandvika train station, a little town outside of Oslo, to meet Dave Gorman at the train station.
Hiya. You Dave? How you doing? Right? OK, this is Danny. Perfect.
And as you can see, Katrina there, she's getting quite excited taking pictures of the T-shirt. He's a lovely lad. He lives in Norway. His name is Dave Gorman. Here he is. Oh, look at that. It's a pleasure to meet him. He's a lovely young fella. That's what he looks like. This is what he sounds like.
Hallo, jeg heter David Gorman.
They really are just making that language up, aren't they? There were no words there between hello and David. That was hello, David Gorman. It's not. Incidentally, before I move on, it's important I clear this up. That's the picture of me shaking hands with him. It's very important I point this out. Those are not shadows. They're paintings, OK? If I don't point that out, I can see there's always someone in the audience, their head starts fizzing. He's not even wearing glasses. How do you get your hat off so fast? Unbelievable. This is the Aftenposten, Norway's equivalent of the Times. This is one of the biggest newspapers in Norway. As you can see, if you look very closely, we are on the front page of Norway's biggest newspaper. And look at the size of this article. Page 3, Norway's biggest newspaper. Almost the entire page devoted to me. The meeting with Dave Gorman, the whole thing, the journey out there, took about 50 minutes because he didn't want to be followed. The meeting with Dave Gorman himself was about 20 minutes. We were with Simon for a little over an hour. He's written thousands of words. And this is Norway. Some of them are very big words. Absolutely shocking. I didn't mind. He did his job. He printed my email address. He encouraged other Dave Gormans to get in touch. Not one Norwegian person sent me an email. But when I returned home from Norway, I found emails waiting for me, about 8 of them, from Denmark. I thought that's a bit odd. This is one of them. Hello, Mr. Gorman. My name is Jeppen Fransen. I am from Denmark. I'm sorry, my name is not Dave Gorman. Good luck with your search. Goodbye. Jeppen Fransen. So I wrote back to him, saying, where did you find out about my story? And he told me that he'd read about it in a Danish newspaper called the Berlingske Tidende. Here it is. This is Denmark's biggest newspaper. That is Berlingske Tidende. And here, on the front page, is an article about me. I am front page news in Denmark, and I haven't even been there. The fact that I went to Norway is front page news in Denmark. What else is in this paper if I'm front page news in Denmark? I couldn't believe it. It's ridiculous. So we're big in Scandinavia. So, we've been to Norway, we've met another Dave Gorman, we've now met 24 Dave Gormans. That broadens the cultural diversity of the group. That's another good thing. And on the plane home, I taught Danny Wallace a lesson. He doesn't know I'm about to show you this tape. It's a surprise for you, Dan. This is my revenge. You should never have sent me that email about Hawaii. The important lesson you're about to learn is when you're flying with me, never fall asleep on a plane. We've met 24 Dave Gormans. There are only 30 more to go. Now, when we'd met 17 Dave Gormans, this is what the average Dave Gorman face looked like. We've met 7 more. Let's see how that's affected the average. Well, at least he's happy. As far as I can see, he's a theatrical agent. He's doing table magic on the cruise ship, something like that. That's what the average Dave Gorman now looks like. However, it's not all good news. Because we've been to Norway to find one Dave Gorman, and Norway's quite a long way away, especially if you're only going to find one. This is what it's done to our graph. Oh. What we've done so far, we've met 24 Dave Gormans. We've travelled 14,522 miles. That leaves us at 605 miles per Dave Gorman. But this statistic does not overly concern me. We've been further away than that before, and we've tamed the beast. We can do it again. And we've learned a lot of lessons that will help us to be more efficient. I've learned 2 lessons in this little lot. 1, the power of the press is absolute. 2, always get Gareth to analyse my emails. So at this point, our story had been in newspapers in New York, Norway and Denmark. But none of the English papers had run anything. Pretty soon, our quest would be featured in The Sun, The Mirror, The People, The Express, The Mail, The Independent, The Scotsman, Scotland on Sunday, The Guardian, The Herald, The Irish Times, The Times, The Observer and Insurance News. I'll tell you how we did that next time. But now, ladies and gentlemen, tonight you have learned about a very special time in my life. That's 24 Dave Gormans. These men are all very special to me, and I know that they have won a very special place in your hearts also. And every week, as the ranks swell and more Dave Gormans are added, it becomes more and more likely that Lady Luck will shine on you, and you will actually get to bump into one of these men. Just imagine that for a second. It's nice, isn't it? Now, if you are lucky enough to spot a Dave Gorman, please, I ask only this of you. Please respect their privacy. Don't try to feed them, they eat when they're hungry. But do give them a big hello hug from me. Now, I know that right now you're thinking that's a good idea, but I also know that you're fickle. Which is why I'm asking each and every one of you to take an oath of allegiance, swearing that you will respect the Dave Gormans of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please, raise your right hands. Follow the words on the screen. Say it with me. I do solemnly swear that I will do everything in my power to respect, honour and, if necessary, obey all Dave Gormans. I promise that whenever I meet Dave Gorman, I will not hassle, bother or pester him in any way. But I will give him a big hello hug from you, the Dave Gorman I see before me now. However, this applies only to true Dave Gormans, and not to their flat mates, but the heavenly bastards, visitors and unfortunately, who would visit the financial ruin of Dave Gorman in return for a trip to one of the world's premier holiday resorts. For he is a girl, a big girly girl, who is not fit to live in the shadow of one wearing name, Dave Gorman. My name's Dave Gorman, thank you very much. Good night.
Dave Gorman continues his diligent search now on BBC Two, leaving no stone unturned in his attempt to draw together the biggest ever collection of Dave Gormans.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman. For the last few months, me, my flatmate Danny, his video camera and my credit card have been trying to find, meet, shake the hand of and photograph other Dave Gormans. I'm trying to meet 54 Dave Gormans because over a game of cards, Danny there has challenged me to find one for every card in the deck, including the Jokers. So far, I've met 24.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
My name is Dave. David
Gorman.
Gorman. Have a good day.
That's the good news. But I'm trying to travel somewhere between 300 and 500 miles per Dave Gorman. And annoyingly, amongst the 24 that we've met so far, there's been one in France.
Hello.
2 in Italy.
Hello.
My name is
David
Gorman.
4 in New York.
Hello. My name is David Gorman.
And 1 in Norway.
Hallo, jeg heter David Gorman.
Which means that our mileage has risen to 14,522. Which means that for 24 Dave Gormans, we're now outside the target zone at 605 miles per Dave Gorman. Leaving our graph looking like this. As you can see, we haven't been in the zone now since we've met our first 13 Dave Gormans.
Hello.
Now, while the trip that did the most damage to the graph was our trip to New York, it was on that trip that I discovered how useful a bit of publicity could be. Because while in New York, this article appeared in the daily paper. And that led to us meeting both of these men. Knowing this, we tried to get in some other newspapers, so far only succeeding in Norway and Denmark. Now, it's all well and good being big in Scandinavia. We can all do that. But is it likely to be helpful? Well, let's take a closer look at the 24 Dave Gormans we've met, there are 3 Dave Gormans in continental Europe. As you can see, that means the continent is home to just 12.5% of Dave Gormans. But as you can see, they're just pipped by the Americas here, with 4 Dave Gormans making just over 16%. Although it must be said, New York is far outperforming Buenos Aires there. Meanwhile, Britain leads the way with just under 67% of Dave Gormans. While Scandinavia really needs to figure out where they've gone wrong. They're trailing here with around 4% of Dave Gormans. And I think when you look at their relative land masses, we really do have a lot to be proud of on this little island of ours. Well done, everyone. Basically, you're about 16 times more likely to find a Dave Gorman in Great Britain than you are in Scandinavia. That's as true today as it's ever been. So if we're trying to use the power of publicity to our advantage, I think it's safe to say we've been wasting our time with the Aftenposten and their ilk. We ought to be looking closer to home. Well, we decided to launch a nationwide campaign. We started off aiming at the grassroots. We wanted to create a bit of word of mouth. So we placed an advert in a local newspaper, and I took the bull by the horns and did some public speaking. I called the evening, "Are You Dave Gorman?" I figured if I read that, I'd think, yes. My first engagement was at Windsor Art Centre.
If I'm one in Bombay, I will go.
Approximately 15 people showed up. None of them were called Dave Gorman. But I encouraged them to go away and try to find me one, and they seemed to take that responsibility on board. Next, we travelled to Hammersmith, where we had an audience numbering nearly 100, and a magical thing occurred.
Ladies and gentlemen, is anyone here called Dave Gorman? Yeah. Are you really?
Yeah.
Are you really? Smile for the camera.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
We actually found a real live Dave Gorman in the audience. So now we knew we were onto something. It worked. So we figured we'd take the show on a month-long run to the world's largest arts festival, the Edinburgh Fringe. So we did, and it happened again.
Ladies and gentlemen, is there anyone here called Dave Gorman?
Hello, my name is David Gorman.
So by now, thousands of people were pledging their support. Thousands of people were going away and trying to find Dave Gormans. And they were all wearing a badge like this. Which, as you can see, declares that the wearer is not Dave Gorman, but also poses the question, are you? But the campaign message wasn't just being carried on the lapels of strangers. We were making the news. The Times, the Sunday Times, the Independent on Sunday, the Guardian, the Observer, the Telegraph, the Herald, the Sunday Herald, the Mail, the Express, the Scotsman, Scotland on Sunday, the Mirror, the People, and even the Sun all carried news of the search and appealed for Dave Gormans to come forward. This is the Sun. This is quite clearly page 3. That is half of page 3. I've got equal billing with Joe, 21 of Leicestershire. I am the bonkers story next to the tits. And they've used 3 photos of me meeting Dave Gormans, and who do you think took these pictures? Yes, my flatmate Danny Wallace. All of a sudden, Danny can claim to be a page 3 photographer. Something he has been claiming for many years. Now, I'll tell you this for a fact. If you don't read The Sun, you know someone who does. So I know that that day, countless Dave Gormans were faxed copies of this story. This was guaranteed to reach my target audience, Dave Gormans. But it wasn't just newspapers. TV was covering it as well. And this next man I'm going to show you is called Dotun Adebayo. He's a writer, he's a critic, and he's a very, very serious man.
I think there were moments when I thought Björk can act, but unfortunately, if the script is so weak, the script has got to allow an actor or an actress to act as such, and I don't think they had very much to go with.
That's him discussing Björk in a Lars von Trier's film. This is him discussing the debut play from Whitbread Award-winning novelist Kate Atkinson.
I don't think she would have bitten off more than she could chew if she kept it as a novel, because she's a great narrator. You know, in a novel she works fine and brilliant, and you think that she's a great writer.
And this is him discussing an exhibition of the works of Salvador Dali.
So I think there are 3 different types of paintings going on. There are all the optical illusion stuff, which is, for me, more about geometry and mathematics than actually aesthetics.
Now, there are 2 things I think we should take away in this. 1, I don't understand a word that man is saying. 2, take a look at his badge. Dr. Adebayo is on national television and he's wearing an I am not Dave Gorman badge. That is a sentence I never thought I'd say. So he's discussed Dali and he's discussed Kate Atkinson and he's discussed Björk in a Lars von Trier's film, but then this happens.
He goes around, meets people whose names are Dave Gorman. In every photograph he takes with them, he's got the same moronic look on his face.
So now, we've got heavyweight arts critics discussing us on BBC Two, and at the same time, with the bonker story next to the tits on page 3. We ended up being covered on a few TV shows.
And Georgie joins us now from Edinburgh. Who have you been spotting up there?
This guy, Dave Gorman, has travelled around the world. And if your name is Dave Gorman, or if you know anyone called Dave Gorman,
please get in touch with me, dave.gorman@virgin.net.
Here's the address and number again, dave.gorman@virgin.net. He spent £9,000 and travelled 14,000 miles.
To find people with the same name as him, David Gorman, which, frankly, I think is hilarious.
Thank you very much.
Can you imagine a story this stupid being on television? I mean, who makes these decisions? Well, someone read about us in The Sun and they invited me down from Edinburgh to appear on The Big Breakfast. I travelled down overnight to be there. They had a fantastic treat in store.
OK, now we've got something special for you.
OK.
Will the 3 real Dave Gormans please stand forward?
Pleased to meet you, Dave Gorman.
You didn't get a single one right.
Pleased to meet you. You know how exciting that is? Just look at that camera, please. Look at that camera and say the words. Hello, my name is Dave Gorman. On count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Hello.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman. So I've gone down to do The Big Breakfast and they found 3 Dave Gormans for me gratis. But then I have to fly back up to Edinburgh to finish the run at the festival before we can finally return home. That was a very satisfying month. We found 2 Dave Gormans in our audience. We had 3 Dave Gormans delivered on a plate. We managed to appeal for more to come forward on TV, on the radio and in nearly every newspaper in the land. And nearly 4,000 people came to hear our tale, which meant we sent away a private army of nearly 4,000 researchers. All of a sudden, whereas before the festival it was just me and Dan, now we had 4,000 foot soldiers searching with us. But how had it affected the graph? Well, here we go. We'd added 5 Dave Gormans, but I had travelled from London to Edinburgh. I had walked each day from my lodgings to the theatre. I had come back down to London for The Big Breakfast, and then back up to Edinburgh, and then finally back down to London. I had met 5 extra Dave Gormans, but I had travelled 1,710 miles. And this is what it had done to the graph. Oh! There you go. I've narrowed the margin ever so slightly. But we're not quite in the zone yet. That's where we stand. 29 Dave Gormans, 16,232 miles travelled, giving us 559 miles per Dave Gorman. We're not in the zone, but we are heading in the right direction. And I was confident that with 4,000 people searching with me, we'd soon rack up a load more Dave Gormans and get back in the zone where we belong. And they were searching for us. Every day we would receive letters, phone calls and emails telling us about more Dave Gormans. And we acted on it immediately. In one extremely busy day, thanks to tip-offs from my private army, we travelled to Dunstable, Daventry, Peterborough and then Tottenham. We met this man.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman.
This man.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
And then this man.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
And then this freak.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
That is 4 Dave Gormans. For only 312 miles. And this is what it does to the graph. Ooh. Look at that, it's so close you can't even tell if we're in the zone or not. It couldn't be any closer. That's where we are now. 33 Dave Gormans. 16,534 miles travelled. Giving us 501 miles per Dave Gorman. 501 poxy mile per Dave Gorman. It's a tragedy, so close. What I needed now was a Dave Gorman close to home. The next Dave Gorman will be the 34th Dave Gorman. Now, 34 times 500 is 17,000. If we're going to get in the zone, we need to have travelled 17,000 miles or less. So far, we have travelled 16,534 miles. So we need to find a Dave Gorman somewhere on a round trip of 466 miles or less. That means we need to find the Dave Gormans somewhere within 233 miles of home. This is our target area. This is the 233-mile inclusion zone around my flat. We want just one Dave Gorman anywhere in here, and we're back on track. The next Dave Gorman I learnt about was a policeman. He lives in DeKalb County, Georgia, in the US of A. And as you can see, literally all of the state of Georgia falls some distance outside of our target. But we got in touch with the American cop, Dave Gorman, and we found out some good news. Turns out Dave is an Irish-American cop. He actually lived in Ireland until he was 16. And he was now organising a trip of other Irish-American cops from the States to Dublin. So he got clever. Why not let him travel 4,000 miles and we'll only have to do 300? It is still outside our target area, but if we can find just one more Dave Gorman while we're there, that's not a problem. So we flew to Dublin. If you don't believe me, here's my boarding card. On our first day in Dublin, we did find the extra Dave Gorman we needed.
Hello, my name is David Gorman.
But we also found another 3.
Hello. Hello. Hello, my name is David Gorman.
That was 4 Dave Gormans in one day in Dublin alone. That is a result. The next day, we go out to the airport to try and meet the American cop. We're not sure what time he's arriving. We don't know what he looks like, so we use the time-honoured method for meeting people at airports. I have friends that live in Dublin. What if one of them is coming through that airport? This is the definition of showing off. Oh, look at me, the amazing self-captioning man. But while I wasn't happy stood there like that, with the benefit of hindsight, I'm very glad I did. Because 20 minutes before his flight was due to land, they announced that it was going to be 90 minutes late. But while I'd been stood there, someone had come up and said, "Excuse me, are you waiting for the pilot, Dave Gorman?" I said, "No, I'm waiting for the American policeman, Dave Gorman." She said, "Oh, only the pilot, he'll be in the lounge." So now I've got some minutes to kill and another Dave Gorman to find, and I found him.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
We met him before getting back into arrivals in time to meet the flight from Georgia.
How you doing?
Hey, bud, how you doing?
I'm Dave Gorman.
All right, Dave, how you doing? Nice
very well.
Who inexplicably decided to shower me with gifts.
Here, take that. Oh, fantastic. Look at that.
Here, take that NYPD, please.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
That's lovely. No other Dave Gormans give us presents.
I got a toy NYPD motorbike, a couple of police badge patches, and this bar of chocolate. And then he was off. And to be honest, I don't know why he was giving me presents. I don't know what he was so happy about. Because he's travelled 3,927 miles to meet one Dave Gorman. This is what he'd done to his graph. Oh, you look at that! That's rubbish! He's only met one! That is the biggest margin of error I've ever seen in my life. He's never going to get into the zone at that rate, is he? It's almost as if he isn't even trying. Still, we were obviously onto a rich seam in Dublin. 2 days and 6 Dave Gormans. Oh, it's such an exciting place. We decided to stay an extra day, and we found yet more Dave Gormans.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
And that last one there is brilliant. We had a good time with him. He's a big man in the international freight game, but while he told us all about freight, I got the impression, like when I told him about my mission, he wasn't really taking it all in. See what you think. I'd been with him for 40 minutes. I've explained that we are trying to meet every Dave Gorman when I first met him. After 40 minutes, this happened.
It's plenty of us here because even my young lad is Dave Gorman Jr., you know.
Is he really?
Yeah.
We've explained. We're trying to meet every Dave Gorman we can. We've shown him the photos of the Dave Gormans we've met so far, and he's only just thought to mention his son, Dave Gorman Jr. But when I tell him we'd like to meet his son, he was absolutely brilliant. He got straight on the phone, he got his wife on, he went, "Quick, get Dave out of school."
I'm in the office with Dave Gorman and Danny Wallace, and they want to meet Boo Boo.
We get to his school, and there in the car park, waiting for us, we find his mum and his grandma and him, and little 5-year-old little Dave Gorman there. He went all shy. He would not get out of the car. His whole family were having a go at trying to persuade him, but he was not having any of it. He was frightened of the furry microphone and my furry face.
Well, then I'll get out as well. Come on.
Listen, come here. It's only me, kid. Come on.
Come on, Boo. Mummy wants to get back in the car. Come on.
His dad tried, his mum tried, his gran tried, but he would not budge. This is like Chinese water torture for a Dave Gorman hunter. He's almost within reach. And then I remembered what I had in my bag. Do you remember when we met this guy?
How you doing? Hey, bud, how you doing? Here, take that NYPD, please.
Are you sure?
Yeah. That's lovely.
Well, I'd just put all that stuff in my bag. I'd forgotten about it. So we went to work with bribery. I offered him a sew-on police badge and a toy motorbike, but not the chocolate. And we did get him out of the car so I could take his picture and I could collect the evidence I need. Hello, Dave Gorman.
What do you say to that?
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman.
He is so cute, isn't he? And bear this in mind. He lives about 5 miles from there. He's met me. He's obviously met his dad. If you consider his miles per Dave Gorman, this 5-year-old Irish lad is clearly outperforming a 27-year-old American cop. Technically, he'll have been on a round trip of 10 miles and he'll have met 2. So he'll have an MPDG of 5. Now, obviously, he's going to be quite some way below the 300 miles per Dave Gorman mark. But even so, it's a great start for the young lad. He's doing far better than I was when I was 5. I hadn't met any. So, we returned home, proud of ourselves, and a truly remarkable trip. In 3 days, we had met 10 Dave Gormans. Such a result, look at that. Dublin, what a fantastic place. And as you'd expect, it did us the world of good graph-wise. Take a look at this. Oh! Will you look at that? Have you ever seen a more exciting graph in your life? Oh! I couldn't believe it! Straight into the heart of the zone. You've never seen a more exciting graph in your life, probably not since you were at school. It's taken us 30 Dave Gormans, but we've finally done it. We're back where we belong. 43 Dave Gormans. Oh, and 17,246 miles travelled, giving us 401! Could not believe it. Almost slap bang in the middle of the zone. It's an incredible result. That is an occasion worth celebrating. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, you all get to take away a piece of celebration American chocolate, courtesy of Dave Gorman, number 39. Now, we need to break this down into approximately 100 pieces. There is one man I trust above all others for a job like this. He's made the trip down once more, ladies and gentlemen. We can't keep him away. All the way from Edinburgh, Dave Gorman, number 5! Absolutely, give him the love he deserves. He is a Dave Gorman. You don't have to say anything. It's all queued up. It's all ready. Just got to press the button.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
Dave, I want you to take that away, break it into 100 pieces, make sure everyone gets one at the end of the night. Good lad. Now, we're on a roll. After spending 30 Dave Gormans in the wilderness, our time has come. And I was determined to stay in the zone. But the next thing I learnt was that there was a David Gorman in Israel. You might expect me to be concerned about this, but I wasn't, and this is why. This is the email I received. Hi, Dave. First, the homework you asked me to do in your show. I've just phoned 144 Information Israel. I asked the operator for all Dave Gormans listed in Tel Aviv, where I work and live. She gave me no less than 5 names. That's 5 Dave Gormans in Tel Aviv alone. What does this do for your statistics, for the MPDG? Your motivation must be rocketing as you read this. He knows me well. Here they are, and below there were 5 Dave Gormans listed. So as you can see, while it may be many miles away, there are multiple Dave Gormans, so it should be okay. So we booked our tickets and we flew out to Tel Aviv. If you don't believe me, here's my boarding card. We went out to find 5 Dave Gormans. We found 1 man with 5 phones. Do you remember when we met this man in New York?
Have a good day.
Well, he told us this.
I would venture to say that I'm probably going to be one of the only Jewish Gormans that you're going to meet.
Oh, yeah? Take a look at this.
Shalom. I'm the only David Gorman in Israel.
Oh, look at him! I can safely say that when we started all this months ago, and Danny was challenging me to find 54 Dave Gormans, I did not expect to end up in Israel talking to a 70-year-old man. And I'll tell you what, we had a hell of a job getting there to find him. I don't know if anyone here has ever flown to Israel, but if you have, you'll know that the security measures taken are a bit more stringent than when you're flying to Tenerife. So we've got to Heathrow, and El Al has a special section out of everyone else's way where the policemen hang around with big guns. Now, when you get to the front of the queue, before they let you check in, they have to get past an El Al security man. So myself and Danny, we get there, and this man comes up and he asks 3 questions. I'm going to tell you all 3 questions. The third one is the killer. Bear in mind, you know the answers. Are you travelling together? Yes. How do you know each other? We're flatmates. What is the purpose of your visit? We're trying to meet some men called Dave Gorman. Could you follow me, gentlemen? So he takes us to one side, right? He gets a friend to help him. They separate us. He interviews me, his friend interviews Danny, and the 2 of them check that we both tell the same story. And every time he asks me another question, even though I'm telling him the truth, it sounds like I'm talking in code. Why are you trying to meet David Gormans? Because it's my name. David Gorman isn't a very Israeli-sounding name. How did you find these David Gormans? Someone sent me their phone numbers in an email. Who? A stranger. What will you do when you meet them? Shake their hand, take their photo, film them saying the words, "Hello, my name is David Gorman," and then leave. You're going a hell of a long way for that, aren't you? Well, there are 5 of them, so it shouldn't do the MPDG any harm. The what? Let me show you this graph. But the 2 security men, they check with each other. We've both told them the same story, so we passed the test. We're in. Then there was the letdown of discovering that our 5 David Gormans were all the same man. But what a lovely man he was. He was absolutely fantastic.
May I suggest you a cup of water?
Yeah, water.
A cup of coffee? I'll give you water, and my wife will serve you with coffee. Great. And you take a photo to describe how Mr. David Gorman is pouring the water. Tell me about this crazy idea. How was it born? Who of them is Jew? Only one is a Jew?
Yeah.
There are a lot of Gormans. Not all of them are David. Everybody likes the name David Gorman. Very nice. Mr. Wallace, you don't drink, you will be weak and the camera will fall out of your hand. Am I not the oldest David Gorman here?
I think you are.
So I have another gold medal.
Absolutely.
I can tell you with my hand on my heart, I have never enjoyed the company of a 70-year-old man quite as much as I did that day. And though I was disappointed that he wasn't 5 Dave Gormans, we've always been trying to find cultural diversity, and I think you'd agree that in this Dave Gorman we have found it. So we returned home with 4 less Dave Gormans than we had hoped for, and with a heavy heart I started plotting the graph. And here it is. Oh, absolutely heartbreaking. It's just too far away. This is where we are. We've travelled 22,274 miles. We've met 44 Dave Gormans, leaving us at a heartbreaking 506 miles per Dave Gorman. I couldn't believe it. There are only 10 more Dave Gormans needed to complete my task, and I'll tell you whether or not I found them next time. But tonight, ladies and gentlemen, you've learnt about a very special time in my life. And I can tell just from looking at a few of your faces that for some of you this has been the best night of your lives. But who knows? Ladies and gentlemen, maybe one day you will have an even better time. Maybe one day you will get to meet one of these 44 men in the flesh. Now, if you are lucky enough to spot a Dave Gorman, please, I ask only this of you. Please Don't just stand there pointing at them. However tempted you are, please don't follow them home and go through their bins. But do, please, do give them a big hello hug from me. Now, I know that right now you're thinking that's a good idea, but I also know that you're fickle. Which is why I'm asking each and every one of you to take an oath of allegiance, swearing that you will respect the Dave Gormans of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please, raise your right hands. Follow the words on the screen. Say it with me. I solemnly swear that I will do everything within my power to respect, honour, and if necessary, obey all Dave Gormans. I promise that whenever I meet a Dave Gorman, I will not hassle, bother, or pester you in any way. That I will give you a big hello hug from you, the Dave Gorman I see before you now. However, I will not impede your progress through international airports, making always visit plane to Israel. For this is a noble quest, and is difficult enough as it is frankly. For he is one that carries that name, forever and ever. Dave Gorman. My name's Dave Gorman. Thank you very much. Good night.
Shalom, John Zaritsky.
Have a good time here.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
So.
David and Dan, why not? And then the story that he was swallowed by a whale. And take a picture of the city, it's nicer than me. I'm the only David Gorman in Israel. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman. For the last few months, me, my flatmate Danny, his video camera, and my credit card have been trying to find, meet, shake the hand of, and photograph other Dave Gormans. I'm trying to meet 54 Dave Gormans because Danny there has challenged me to find one for every card in the deck, including the Jokers. So we're chasing 54 Dave Gormans and we're doing well. We're up to 44, only 10 more to go. But while we're trying to reach 54, for each Dave Gorman we find, we are trying to travel not less than 300 miles, but crucially, not more than 500 miles. This is the target area here. This is the number of Dave Gormans we've met. This is the number of miles we've travelled. If we're on target, we should be in this zone here. Now, in the beginning, it was tough. There was even a Dave Gorman in Royal Leamington Spa who refused to meet me. I know. I can't tell you how angry that makes me. Anyway, these are our first 24 Dave Gormans.
Hello.
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 My name is Dave Gorman.
Gorman. Have a good day.
Meeting the first 24 Dave Gormans involved trips to France.
I have never been anywhere like this in my entire life, Dan.
Italy. Yeah, I can't talk now, I'm on a gondola. New York. And Norway. This is what our graph looks like. At that point, we'd travelled 605 miles per Dave Gorman. So we decided to start a word-of-mouth campaign. We started by putting a show together explaining the story so far. I sat down and thought about it for a while. I think I came up with a stage show, or at least the title alone was bound to bring some Dave Gormans out of the woodwork. It was called Are You Dave Gorman? It worked. 2 Dave Gormans read the title, thought that must be for me.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman.
But thousands of other people came as well with their other names. So I gave them all a badge that says, "I am not Dave Gorman. Are you?" And it worked. All of a sudden, the hotline started ringing and strangers were telling me about fresh Dave Gormans. But the media started getting interested as well. And every time they did, the search got a little easier. I was invited onto the big breakfast and they had 3 Dave Gormans for me. That number of Dave Gormans was rising, and the miles per Dave Gorman was tumbling towards the zone. Before the Edinburgh Festival, we were at 605 miles per Dave Gorman. When the festival was over, we were at 559 miles per Dave Gorman, and this was our graph. In one day, we met these 4 Dave Gormans.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
By the end of that day, we had got it down to a remarkable, but frustrating, 501 miles per Dave Gorman. If we'd been able to take just 1 mile from each journey, we'd be in the zone. It's at times like that that I really want to find Leamington Spa Dave Gorman and wring his neck. At least that way I'd meet him. Once. Ireland turned out to be our best hunting ground. In Dublin, in only 3 days, we met all of these men.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hello. Hello.
And this 5-year-old boy.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman.
That's 10 Dave Gormans in 3 days and not very many miles. That took us straight to 401 miles per Dave Gorman. The heart of the zone, right back where we belong. That was our graph. We'd spent 30 Dave Gormans in the hinterland, but Ireland sorted us out. Surely we were safe now. I was certain even a trip to Israel wouldn't do any damage. Oh no. My source told me that according to directory inquiries, there were 5 Dave Gormans in Tel Aviv alone. We went to Israel, we found 1 man with 5 phones.
I'm the only David Gorman in Israel.
So this is where we are now. So we've had the sweet smell of success, but it only lasted for 1 Dave Gorman. I wanted it back. We found out about 3 Dave Gormans in Manchester. We got straight on a train. We met this Dave Gorman.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
And we met this Dave Gorman.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman.
And we went to the offices of the Manchester Evening News with an appointment to meet the 3rd. This is what happened.
He's in a meeting. He knows we're coming, but he can't meet us.
Apparently he was in a meeting. Who knows? Maybe he was in a meeting. Maybe he was meeting Royal Leamington Spa Dave Gorman. Not that I let it get me down, because I was very happy with the Dave Gormans I had met. They were both lovely. It's a good job they were as well, because this Dave Gorman is the hardest man I've ever met. When I show you this tape, you will believe me. But look out, he has also got a sensitive side, right? I'm going to show you this tape. You'll see that he's hard. See if you can spot his sensitive side. It's hidden in there somewhere.
I do Thai boxing, yeah. Turn around like that. And there's a guy about 6'9", look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's bullets flying everywhere. Ashtray on the back of my head. I punched the end of his elbow. My arm was smashed in. I come out my corner, ding ding, punch one guy. I don't know if you can see that there. Completely smashed my collarbone. Boom, that would finish you off. Got a stick right on the top of my head. I had stitches up there. And I had an hole under my arm. That scar there. Yeah. The paintings I've got on my wall, I don't know if you saw them. I did them, you see. Yeah? And that's another peculiarity because, yeah, I'm a Thai boxer, I'm a doorman, but yeah, I'll do fine, you know, with birds and watercolours.
Did you spot it? I can tell you, I was sorely tempted to send him round to the Manchester Evening News and sort Dave Gorman out. Oh, it was a good trip. And even though Manchester Evening News Dave Gorman had to mysteriously cancel our appointment, we still did enough. This is what it did to the graph. Oh, look at that! We're in the zone! What a result! Just inside the zone. The Manchester Evening News Dave Gorman can write a story about that if he likes, but he cannot defeat me. There we are. 46 Dave Gormans, 22,699 miles travelled, 493 miles per Dave Gorman. That is a result. However, we got home from Manchester to find a message waiting for us. We were on to another Dave Gorman. He was another Irishman. The only problem was, he lives in Germany. In particular, he lives here. He lives in Schlagenbad, about 50 miles from Frankfurt. I suspected it was going to take us out of the zone, but I couldn't find any other Dave Gormans. We were at 46. I needed 54. I wanted to prove Danny wrong. I had no choice but to meet Dave Gorman, and at the first opportunity, we flew to Germany. If you don't believe me, here's my boarding card. And even though he lives in Germany, we'd got really slick by this time. We managed to do the whole thing there and back in under 4 hours. A flight, a taxi, a meeting.
Hello, my name is David Gorman.
A taxi, a flight, and we were home. A lovely man. If Germany ever needs a Roger Whittaker impersonator, they've got one. But the damage was done. This was the graph. Oh, we've just popped at the top of the zone. There we are, 502 miles per Dave Gorman. Shocking. And the supply of Dave Gormans seemed to be drying up. I'd found 47. I only needed 7 more. But it seemed like there were no more out there. But I had learnt the value of publicity. Most of the latest Dave Gormans had arrived, directly or indirectly, as a result of the show at the Edinburgh Festival. So I was delighted when the opportunity came up to do the show again, but on a bigger stage. What began with 15 people in Windsor progressed to 150 people in an Edinburgh Fringe venue was now in an 800-seat West End theatre. And it worked. On our first night, when I asked if there was a Dave Gorman there, this is what happened.
Is anyone here called Dave Gorman? Yes! You did! Oh, you know how excited this makes me. Can you possibly leap up on here? You're not wearing a skirt, come on.
Lovely, lovely man, but he's made one elementary mistake. He's wearing an I am not Dave Gorman badge. But don't let that cast doubt in your mind. He is a Dave Gorman. We have got the proof.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
See? Proof if proof were needed. So now we're up to 48 Dave Gormans, and this is what it does to the graph. Yes! We're back! That's what we want! 48 Dave Gormans! Oh, yes! 23,617 miles travelled. Oh, yes! We're back in at 492 miles per Dave Gorman. That is a result. But we still need 6 more. And Danny was getting smug. He was starting to gloat. He thought I wasn't going to be able to reach 54. But if he wants a Dave Gorman for every card in the deck, including the jokers, I'm going to find them for him. And I still had an ace in the hole. When I did the stage show, I offered the audience a golden opportunity. I know that even though it isn't everyone's birthright, there are people out there who are good enough to be a Dave Gorman. That is why I offered to assist if anyone wanted to change their name legally by deed poll to Dave Gorman. Amazingly, not many people took me up on the offer. Most nights, this is what happened.
Okay, it's absolutely serious. That offer is a genuine offer. It's going once. It's going twice. It's going 3 times. It's going 4 times. Okay, never mind.
But there were a few nights when it got quite exciting.
It's a serious offer. Is anyone going to take me up on that?
I'll take it, mate. I'll take it.
We're all Dave Gorman.
Is the camera watching this? Yeah. What's your name at the moment?
Colin.
Colin, you're doing a wise thing.
All very, very exciting moments for me, and I took their details, but then I kind of forgot about them. I put them on the back burner, because I had real Dave Gormans to find. But now, I needed 6 more Dave Gormans, and there was nothing else to do. So I got in touch, and they stayed true to their word and agreed to go through with the change. I found a solicitor by the name of Charles Gorman. It was the best I could do. We had the Dave Gorman, formerly known as David Heffron.
David James Heffron.
That's me.
Step this way.
Okay.
Cool thing.
There we go.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman.
But don't get too excited about that. He's only changed half his name. He was already a David. And we got better than that, because this man changed both his names. This is the Dave Gorman formerly known as Colin Hurley.
Colin Thomas Michael Hurley.
That's me.
I nearly misspelt it.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
Oh, 2 new Dave Gormans! But it gets better. I think this was our greatest coup. We always wanted to find Dave Gormans that would give us cultural diversity. We were not expecting to find girls. Oh, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Dave Gorman formerly known as Kelly Scuts.
Kelly Ann Scuts. And a new name there, please.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
Yes! 3 new Dave Gormans, ladies and gentlemen. Life doesn't get much better than that. But I'll tell you what, it does get better for you tonight because 2 of the 3 are here. Give them the hero and the heroine's welcome they deserve. As I say, take a bow, Dave Gorman and Dave Gorman. Score! There they are, this is for Dave Gorman, formerly known as Colin Hurley. Stand up, Colin, shake my hand. Look into that camera, say it for them one more time.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
Yeah! And this is for Dave Gorman, formerly known as Kelly Scuts. Stand up, go on, shake my hand. Say it for that camera one more time, go on.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
Yes! Bless you, bless you. There we go. We don't kiss many Dave Gormans, but I'm kissing that one. And just when you think it can't get any better, it does. Because that female Dave Gorman you see there on the screen before you now, is not the only female Dave Gorman. We have another girl who has decided to change her name as well, along with her boyfriend. We have set a new record for intimacy between Dave Gormans. They were a lovely couple. They're now a lovely couple of Dave Gormans. These are the Dave Gormans formerly known as Graham Clemenson and Pascal Beatrice Noel.
Graham Richard Clemenson.
Yes.
Pascal Beatrice Noel. Right, come out. Your machine also. Your name.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman.
Isn't that a wondrous thing? As far as I'm concerned, it's just like the Antiques Roadshow. A Dave Gorman might be lovely, but they're worth more as a pair. I'm afraid that Dave and Dave can't be with us tonight because they're in Peru. What could possibly be more romantic than travelling the world with matching passports? Just think what we have created here. Somewhere in Peru, Dave Gorman is making love to Dave Gorman. How proud am I? I wish them well, obviously, fingers crossed. We are hoping for the first inter-Dave Gorman marriage. I've asked that if they do, they take a double-barrel surname. I want to see the first Mr. and Mrs. Dave and Dave Gorman Gorman. That is 5 new Dave Gormans. 2 of them are girls. Who would have thought that at this stage, Dave Gormans would be about 96% male? I've been through the figures a few times. I've had other people check them for me, and apparently I am 2 times more likely to be a girl than I am a homosexual. I've learned a lot in the last few months, but that was possibly the most surprising. This sets all kinds of records. Early on, this was our youngest Dave Gorman.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman.
But now we had 5 Dave Gormans who were barely 20 minutes old. These people are responsible for taking me to the brink of success. 53 Dave Gormans. Only 1 more to go. Can you believe it? And this is what they've done to the graph. Oh! Will you look at that? comfortably inside the zone. There we are. That is 446 miles per Dave Gorman. We want to find 54 Dave Gormans. Well, 54 times 500 is 27,000. So 27,000 is the upper limit. If we travel less than 27,000 miles, we will be in the zone. We only need one more Dave Gorman. We've travelled 23,629 miles so far. Now, 27,000 minus 23,629 is 3,371. That means we can find our next Dave Gorman anywhere within a round trip of 3,371 miles. We want a Dave Gorman anywhere within a radius of 1,685.5 miles. Surely we can manage that. Imagine then my dismay when I found out about a Dave Gorman that lives 153 million miles away. Somebody, a well-meaning person no doubt, saw the show I did in the West End. They wanted to help me. They weren't called Dave Gorman. They didn't want to become a Dave Gorman, but they thought they knew a way to make a Dave Gorman exist. They named a star after me. This arrived in the post. They have registered a star in my name. This is the star. It's actually that one there. This came with this card, signed by Rebecca Whiting, with a message saying simply, "I hope this counts." This star is 153 million miles away! What were you thinking, Rebecca Whiting? If I go to meet this star, what would that do to the miles per Dave Gorman? This is what it'd do. We would then have travelled 153,023,629 miles, and we would have met 54 Dave Gormans, giving us a miles per Dave Gorman of 2,833,770. That is an error of 2,833,270 miles for each and every Dave Gorman. If I meet that Dave Gorman, and I want to get back into the zone, even if I travelled no more miles and each and every Dave Gorman was brought to me, I would need to meet another 306,048 Dave Gormans. What do you think I am, Rebecca Whiting? Some kind of lunatic? So unless you want to bring 306,048 new Dave Gormans to my house, Mrs. Whiting, I'd rather you didn't dabble in things you don't understand. I only needed one more Dave Gorman. It didn't seem like too much to ask. We did the obvious thing. Myself and Danny applied for adoption. I wrote a very polite cover letter. Dear Sir, Madam, my flatmate and I are seeking to adopt a baby that we intend to christen Dave Gorman in order to complete a collection of 54. We have all the necessary forms and are willing to travel to collect. But please bear in mind that if the journey is greater than 1,685.5 miles, it really won't be worth our while. Yours faithfully, Dave and Danny. To be honest, I don't think they read beyond the first line. But then I remembered something. I did a radio show and I invited Dave Gormans to call in. One man did. But he wasn't a Dave Gorman. He was a Dave Gorman. He's here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. He's being looked after backstage by my assistant, little Dave Gorman from Edinburgh. Make them both welcome Dave Gorman number 5 and Mr. Dave Gorman! Now, Dave, just confirm these facts for the audience. Your name is Dave Gorman?
Dave Gorman.
That's spelled with a U, not an O?
That's right.
OK. Everyone you ever meet calls you Dave Gorman by accident?
They do. They don't understand it.
You want to be a part of my brotherhood?
Desperately.
OK. Now, I think we've made a convincing case for Dave Gorman to count. Bear in mind that if he counts as a Dave Gorman, my quest is over and the rest of my life can begin. My fate and his rests in your hands, ladies and gentlemen. If you look under your seats, you should find a keypad that we've stolen from the Generation game. The question is, does this fine, upstanding Dave Gorman count? It's the green button for yes. It's the red button for no. Please, do the right thing. Press your keypads now. You bastards. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm going to have to ask you to leave the studio. Goodbye. No! It's your fault. You voted him off. And I think I've got the measure of you now. You want me to fail. And I thought you might say that. And I've done something about it. I was tearing my hair out trying to think of somewhere I could find a 54th Dave Gorman. I'd been all over the world. I'd been all over Britain. I'd been all over Europe. Surely there was something in between. That's when it struck me. The Channel Islands. So we flew to Jersey. And if you don't believe me, here's my boarding card. And did we find a Dave Gorman there? Was this to be the end of my torment? Would this tiny island be home to Dave Gorman number 54? When I press this button, we'll find the answer.
Hello, my name's Dave Gorman.
Little Dave, where are you? Come on, little Dave. How are you celebrating? Hey, how are you celebrating, Dave? Tell them how you're celebrating.
Well, Big Dave, I've decided to shave my beard to look just like you.
Yeah! Well done, Dave. That is what I call dedication in a Dave Gorman. Well done indeed. And do you know what I did to celebrate? Do you know what I did to celebrate? I did this graph. We win every which way, ladies and gentlemen. We've achieved our goals. We've hit the 54 target. We've done it within the ideal miles per Dave Gorman zone. And I did this graph to celebrate. But what do you think I did to celebrate this graph? I'll tell you what I did. I hosted a party and invited all the Dave Gormans I knew. We managed to get 50 of them in a room. And because it made my day, we made them all wear name badges. Don't believe me? Here they are. And I also wasn't just the ones you've met. I also invited a load of new Dave Gormans, and they came as well. And I know that you love each of the 54 Dave Gormans we've met along the way, but make each of the new ones feel just as welcome. See how many I collected.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman.
Hello, my name is Dave Gorman. Hello, my name's Dave Gorman. Hello, my name's Dave Gorman. My name's Dave Gorman. My name's Dave Gorman.
My name's Dave Gorman.
My name's Dave Gorman.
Dave Gorman.
Dave Gorman.
Dave Gorman.
Dave Gorman. Dave Gorman. Dave Gorman. Dave Gorman. Dave Gorman. Dave Gorman. Dave Gorman.
That was 19 new Dave Gormans. We were aiming for 54. We've hit 73. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very, very proud of what I've achieved here. And I'm very grateful to all the people who've helped along the way. So if you've helped me to find a Dave Gorman, I thank you. If you've helped a Dave Gorman to find me, I thank you. But most importantly, if you are a Dave Gorman, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. For the last few weeks, the audience here has been swearing an oath, promising to hug a Dave Gorman. I know that you want to do that. I open your letters. This is your opportunity tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Dave Gorman, number 5, is here to be hugged. Please form an orderly queue, take your turn, pass him around, but don't hog him. And hug this Dave Gorman. You lot over here, get on this stage now and hug this man. Let me show you how it's done. That's how you hug him. That's how you hug him. Have a go. Go on, get in there and give that man a hug. Hug him. He's a Dave Gorman. He deserves it. Have a party. Share it around. My name is Dave Gorman. Good night.